buy a beer in the neighborhood. Call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a...
All right, welcome in 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray, and wow, we got action off the top tonight. You can certainly react, 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well. Just go to 98.5, youtube.com, search 98.5 The Sports Hub, click subscribe, and boom, you're there. I will have to find out who our opening take is again because I didn't grab the sheet once again, and it's annoying me that this keeps happening. But anyways, let's get right into it tonight. Some breaking news coming down just a few minutes ago. The Celtics have now moved on from another piece from their championship team. So in less than 24 hours, thank you, guys. In less than 24 hours, the Celtics have moved on from two players. And the opening take presented by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for residential and commercial plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. Day or night, always done right. Visit superservicetoday.com. The Celtics have moved on from two players from their championship team. Two players that made an impact and helped them get over the hump and win a championship. Two players that they moved on from: Malcolm Brogdon, who was the sixth man of the year, Marcus Smart, who at one point was a defensive player of the year. They have moved on from those guys, plus Rob Williams and others, and acquired Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. When it comes to Drew Holiday, he was the difference maker, right? Drew Holiday played excellent defense, was outstanding in the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago. He was battling somewhat of a hamstring injury this year. He got the extension at the end of last season, which really propelled him through the finals. Awesome leader, great player. You know, at times maybe they needed a little bit more from him. There was age. I mentioned the hamstring as well, but they're in the locker room. He's one of the better guys and might be a future Hall of Famer in the league. He might be. So when it came to Kristaps Porzingis, the question was always health for Porzingis. Always health. And I'll give you what the trade was coming up in a little bit. But Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, was one of the most dominant bigs on the team, and there was a point last year before the playoffs where he was the second best player outside of Jason Tatum. He was. Jaylen Brown was still dealing with his knee injury. Porzingis was carrying the team. He came down with some sort of illness that he just never came back from. His cardio was bad, and they could not rely on him. And quite frankly, without Holiday and without Porzingis, without Holiday playing to his level and Porzingis even being present, you could see the deficiencies, and of course, Jason Tatum went down with a torn Achilles. Both those pieces are gone. The Celtics championship team from a year ago has lost two of those players. They had to do this, because new ownership has come in. Said they weren't going to make big changes, but Wick Grossbeck at least threw it out there that no team will pay the second apron tax multiple years in a row, and here we are now. The Celtics today traded Kristaps Porzingis for the Hawks, and quite frankly, it's a three-team trade with Brooklyn. They're getting Georgie Niang, a local guy who's a bench player who can shoot the three pretty well, can probably play the four, and they got a draft pick. They essentially dumped Kristaps Porzingis today. Now, in the long run, the Celtics are going to save somewhere between $180 million on the tax. That's huge money. They save $40 million on the Drew Holiday deal, and I do want to get into the Holiday deal as well. I do want to get into that. But for the most part, right now, the Celtics are going to be without Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Three huge pieces from their championship team. This is truly a new look Boston Celtics. The changing of the guard, without a doubt. I don't know what's next. The pieces that they got in return really won't impact the team this year, and maybe that's calculated, maybe that's part of the plan. But the Celtics right now have gotten out of the second apron as far as their tax goes. And, when it comes to the first apron, and I hate to get into the minutia of, the numbers and where they stand on the tax, they legitimately dumped Kristaps Porzingis today. And it probably shows you what the rest of the league thought about him. If this was the best deal that they could get, they're really not taking on much whatsoever. But this from Yossi Goslan. He's a big tax penalty guy and cap guy. The Celtics have reduced their luxury tax penalty by nearly $210 million by trading Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. In return, the Celtics will get Anthony Simons and George Niang. $238 million in total savings so far. They're $4.5 million below the second apron. So there they are. They're below the second apron. They've essentially moved out Jrue Holiday for Anthony Simons and Kristaps Porzingis for George Niang. My take is this. I don't think the Celtics have championship expectations this year. I think they like the team they have. I think there's players that they want to develop. And I think Brad Stevens did an excellent job acquiring at least a player with a little bit of a upside who's been a leader. If I guess we can call him a leader in Portland. But they still have some options with that deal too. And as of right now, I don't know if they're moving on from Jaylen Brown, but the addition of Simon gives them at least some insurance if they want to do that. Now, looking at it, the team's worse, clearly. And if they traded Jaylen Brown, they're really trying to dump money because they won't get anything in return for Jaylen Brown. Nothing. And what I mean by that is they won't get the exact player, I don't think, unless it's a Giannis or someone to that degree or some sort of superstar. I'd rather get your finances in order this year. So next year when Jason Tatum's healthy, then you go for it again. But this Porzingis move's a dump. Maybe the rest of the league didn't find anything worth giving up for him. It's probably exactly what happened. They got out of years with Jrue Holiday. I like that move. Now, I'm not saying Simons is the guy and he's going to be here in Boston. I like the fact they got out of remaining years without giving up assets. I thought they would have had to given up assets to get rid of both Holiday and Porzingis, and somehow Brad Stevens didn't do that. I'm not sitting there banging on the door telling you Brad Stevens made the greatest move. All I'm telling you is the Celtics dumped two players. They grabbed two players in return that still might not be here, but they didn't give up any assets. We all thought they were going to have to give up first-round picks or other players to sweeten deals to take on money. They got rid of both players without giving more. I think that's a win right there because, again, this year, for those who say, oh, well, Anthony Simon will just come here and replace Tatum's points production, I don't think they're looking at that this year. I still think they have a good team. Maybe they make it to the second round of the playoffs. I don't know. But championship aspirations, I just don't see that happening with this team. And I think these two moves prove that they want to get their finances in order. Maybe Sam Hauser's next. Maybe they try to get a little bit further down in the first apron. I think it's the best move for the Celtics to keep Jaylen Brown, keep the rest of the players that you have, get your finances in order, have Joe Mazulla, maybe extend him too. I don't know. We got to get into that at some point. But these moves aren't about going for a championship. They're about getting your finances in order. They didn't give up any assets to do that. I think that's a win. I'm not going to praise and sit here and say, woo, Brad Stevens greatest ever. But the fact that they didn't give up any assets to dump two players and save over $238 million and get under the second apron? They're a worse team today. They're no longer a championship contender today. That sucks. but they got their finances back in order. 617-779-0985. I saw Scav gives me a weird look, so I want to get his thoughts coming up in just a little bit. We got our intern Trey here tonight as well, here until 11 o'clock. Kristaps Porzingis has been traded to Atlanta in a 3-team deal with Brooklyn. We'll give you the specifics on that. We'll also get into the Drew Holiday trade last night. More happening throughout the NBA. We're here all night until 11 o'clock. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere.
Portland, I'm not sitting here parading around telling you that Brad Stevens did the greatest thing in the world. The team is worse today, and they're no longer a championship contender. So that's a fact. They're no longer a championship contender without Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday, and I'll throw in Jason Tatum for that matter. But I never thought the Celtics would be able to shed these salaries without including assets. So I'm not parading around going, woo, Brad's the best. It's just I'm shocked. I never thought they would be able to do that. And in return, they get a couple of vets, right? Guys who played in the playoffs. They get second-round picks. They can probably do something with Simons if they want. I mentioned the Jaylen Brown thing. Skaz gave me a look when I said you're not going to get any equal to Jaylen Brown. I don't think so, but would I rather have Jrue Holiday or Simons? I think in the crunch, I'd rather have Jrue because he's a team player and he's won before. But this kid Simons is no joke, and for those who don't know, he was in Portland for years. He was one of their best players. They were losing. He hated it. He signed the extension. They drafted Scoot Henderson. They got the kid Sharp. So why are they moving on from him? That's why. They have young players that they want to get into the mix. Chauncey Billups has a relationship with Jrue Holiday. According to Steve Ballpett right now, I guess Jrue Holiday's pissed that he got traded. We'll get into that coming up a little bit more. But, a year ago, or when Holiday was traded in the past, like he went quickly and then instantly came to Boston. But I think Portland gave up on Simons because he's an expiring contract. And again, I mentioned Scoot Henderson and Sharp. Like, for those people who don't know, these are ascending young players. They play on the West Coast. They were a defensive-minded team. And Simon just wasn't a part of their future. Now, do the Celtics need to replace the 20 points per game or so that they're going to get from Jason Tatum? Absolutely. This is an option here. I'm trying to think differently. Could he also be an option if they move on from Jaylen Brown? They could give him, he's extension eligible. They can give him an extension. It's shorter money than the 50. He can still produce. He gets into the basket. He doesn't defend like him. He's actually a very poor man's Jaylen Brown, if you ask me. But there are still multiple moves that could happen here. Shams is all over this. Said teams all over the league are interested in Jaylen Brown. So, Skaz, when I said not get the return for Jaylen Brown, I don't think they can get a player in return for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get a Jaylen Brown back, but if Kevin Durant is getting Jalen Green and those picks, and Desmond Bane is getting 5 first-round picks, like, I think the Celtics are at least considering it. I don't think they move Jaylen Brown. I'd be shocked if they did. I don't think they should. And on the Holiday move, I think it's a good move. It's I heard Maz and McCarthy going back and forth on this in Big Jim, how Stevens has his hands tied a little bit this offseason, where teams know he's dumping salaries. So he's not going to get the best deals. That's why I think people are reacting the way they're reacting to the Holiday deal, because he was in a bad spot and he was still able to get something in return. Simons is a good player. He doesn't play a lick of defense. He's a very good shooter, athletic. Maybe he turns it around a little bit. He's not Derek White. Derek White came into the league as a two-way guy, a great defender. He played under Ime. He was an Ime guy in San Antonio. That's part of the reason the Celtics were interested in him. So it's not like that. Simmons is more of or Simons, I should say, is more of an offensive player.
Won the slam dunk contest in 2021, for those that don't remember, because people don't care about it. He's a super athlete. I'll just say this. In Portland, they threw him in the water, and he had to swim. And he did that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's an all-star. Could he be? 7 years in the league. I'm just talking about, I'm talking to them if they want to trade him too. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things here where I don't think this guy is just trash.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's an NBA player, and that's the thing too. Niang comes back. I'm not convinced Niang or Simons is on the roster to start next season. They both could be moved. They both could be here. I think a lot of things are going on. But Porzingis, it was a salary dump. Don't let anyone tell you anything else. That's a straight up. We're done
without giving up assets, and that's the only reason why I like what happened today, Skaz, is they gave up no assets. But it sucks. They're not a championship team, Skaz. They're not people who are like, Brad's going to do this. They got under the apron now. They're under the second apron. they have about $4 million to play with if they want to make moves. I don't think they can make additions now. And it sounds like they now want to get into the lottery, and they're interested in Yakachunas from Illinois, who, by the way, I love. Like, holy smokes, if they drafted this dude, he's a guard who's 6'9" and shoots the three galore and was awesome last year. So I'm in on that. Like, if they want to do that, I'm in. I'm just wondering how much more are they going to save? They just freed up $238 million. I have to look at Keith Smith on what the actual money is when it comes to this year, because the Holiday deal was what? Just under $5 million. So I'm curious on how much it was for this year. So it was 4.5 for him. I'll get the details coming up in a little bit here, but overall, I don't think they're moving on from Jaylen Brown. I hope the plan is to have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum here for years to come. I think that's what's best for the Celtics. But if you want to sell me, at least, that you're trying to get your finances in order and that you can bring in a Simons and see how he fits in and if he actually gels with the team or not, you have an opportunity to give him an extension. You can do that. If you want to dump him at the trade deadline, you can do that. If you want to let his expiring contract come out of $26 million, you can do that, and you can then, when you get Jason Tatum back, get back into the race of being a championship contender. These moves, people, they got stuff in return, nothing great. They didn't give up anything more. But what they did give up was their championship aspirations for this year. One of the best championship teams of all time has been broken up. Drew Holiday's going to Portland. Sounds like he's pissed. We'll get into that in a little bit. And Kristaps Porzingis to Atlanta. Both who helped win a championship, now both shipped out of Boston. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985. Again, we're here all night long. We'll be talking about this. Who we got tonight? We got Eli Hershkovich. We'll talk to him later on tonight. He's a big college guy, but he's a big basketball guy in general. And then Noah Dalzell will join us later on tonight. We'll get the scoop. Almost curious if we should reach out to B-Rob about anything else that might be going on as well. I know he was on this morning. He reached out to us today and said if anything's going down to reach out. So we'll be talking about it all night here. Let's start off with Nevin and Haverhill. Nevin.
What's going on, guys? Considering everything that's went down here between these two trades and, in wake of the Tatum injury, it kind of looks like the Celtics are doubling down on the, shoot more threes, play less defense thing, considering these two pickups. I don't think that's going to be like a permanent mindset shift, but I almost feel like this is going to kind of turn into an audition year for Mazulla where, expectations are super low, team is not going to be nearly as talented. You kind of see what he can do with a team like this rather than a team that's going to be a perennial, front runner like last year. And, generally I'm a Mazulla guy. I think they should keep him, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes this year.
Nevin, do you think that they're going to let him go into the season as a lame duck?
I do. I think, considering how young he is, considering the circumstances of the team right now, the financial situation, like you said, I don't think he's even going to take offense to it. I think he'll be the type of guy who's going to say he loves to have a laser on his forehead or something like that. So.
Wow. Guys, we haven't talked about this enough. I think the Celtics can win with Joe Mazulla. I do.
Oh, they did.
Yep. They did. You're right. All I'm trying to say is I do think what happened in this playoff was a fireable offense. I do. I'm going to be consistent. I thought Tom Thibodeau should have been fired before the series. I never thought he should have been fired after. I still think Mike Malone's probably the best coach. The guy Taylor Jenkins, probably another young coach that's out there. I'm trying to give you options that are better if you're going to move on. So I have two. Would I love it? No. So I'm down with them trying Joe Mazulla for the year with the group they have. I'm down with it. Is he down? Does he want to be a lame duck? I don't think they can allow that. We've seen this before, right? We just saw this with the Bruins. They didn't come to an extension with
Jim Montgomery and Mazulla are not the same.
I know, but Coaches who win championships get fired. It's more, if you win a championship, you're more likely to get fired than if you miss the playoffs. I bet you the percentage is better for that.
Yeah, what are you're going to turn into New York, though? And what are you going to ask every team in the NBA if you can interview their coach because you can't find one? Be careful what you wish for, is what I would say on that front.
I don't think new ownership takes over without the assurances of Brad Stevens and Joe Mazulla being here. But sink or swim, I like the mentality. Hey, Mazulla, see what you can do with these guys. And then, hey, when we actually have money to spend, we'll find out if you're the guy or not. Ooh, I don't know if that will go over well, but I bet you he'd be motivated. I bet you he'd be a better coach in that scenario. You're right about the Montgomery thing. It's a bad comparison because Montgomery knew that he could just get out of it, right?
He wanted to be somewhere else.
I don't know what Mazulla could do in that case.
He wants to be here. Yeah.
It's true. You're right. So maybe they could dangle that carrot. That's a storyline. Forget about who they're getting in return, because this is what people are going to do right now. People are going to line up these phone lines tonight and be like, man, they dumped Porzingis. What are they going to do? I think Celtics fans need to actually think that your team's not going to win the championship next year. I think you need to have that mentality. It sucks, doesn't it? This team has been knocking on the door at the Eastern Conference Finals for how many years now? We're spoiled. I'm pissed they didn't play in June. I had my calendar literally locked up till June because I thought they were going back-to-back. I also have reservations now and have tempered my expectations that this team is probably a middling Eastern Conference team. And when I say middling, probably top 5 seed. It doesn't matter what they do this year. What matters this year is getting your finances in order. Because when Jason Tatum does come back, you're going to have the money. It's going to be worth getting. Maybe some of your younger players have developed. Who knows? Maybe you do get in the lottery. I don't know. Maybe free agents become available that want to play in Boston and go for it again. This year is about getting your finances in order. Let's talk to, is this Joe or Bryant? Hey.
This is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing? Dude, I can't tell you, man, I was watching my son play basketball today, and he lost. He had a terrible game. We came out to the news of Kristaps being traded, and the Celtics bring up financial flexibility for the future. And it was so amazing. All the lights home were green. Whitey Bulger was smiling down upon us.
Oh, man. Tyler's in Lowell. Tyler!
How's it going?
How you doing?
I called last night about Holiday going to the Rockets. That didn't exactly go correctly, but I feel like we still got a deal pretty similar to what I was looking for, and I feel like it was a very good deal because it gives us so much more flexibility where we can either give Simons a real shot and he's still young and we can see if he can work in the organization, or it at the end of the day is a much better contract and something that they can trade for another piece much easier than a 35-year-old with 2 years left and a lot of money.
Yeah. I'm not looking at Simons as someone that's going to make them a championship contender. That's all. I just want to be realistic and set the expectation. I think the Celtics will still be competitive. If they hang on to White and Brown and let's say Simons is on the team, you have 3 guys that could average 20 points a game. That's a good team. You have 0 bigs on the team right now. None. They have no bigs. None. No, unless you want to say George Niang.
No, Joe, you're not going to catch me saying that.
Yeah, and listen, Niang is a solid NBA bench player. He shot 41% from 3.
He stinks, Joe.
He probably would have played ahead of Keita in the Knicks.
So he wouldn't have played at all.
Probably. It's a dump.
It was a dump.
It's a dump.
We've all been dumped, Joe. Kristaps Porzingis just got dumped.
This funny. Skaz said this earlier. I talked to, it was like you, Jay, Stu, and the guys in the back, and I was like, oh, man, so this is just a dump, huh? And Skaz like, yeah, we've all been dumped before. And I felt it. I felt like I got dumped.
Happens to the best of us, Joe.
I do want to read this Ball Pet story about Drew Holiday being pissed. Because last night, Skaz, we got off the air.
Yes, I believe it was like 11:37 or something. This trade broke.
Yeah.
I was just about to pull into my driveway.
I was mad that we couldn't break the news. And I sat up. I watched our friends, Bobby Manning and Noah. They do, I wish I could credit the podcast that they do. But I watched their live, and they went over everything. And so we'll have Noah on later on tonight. But I was just like, uh-oh, what's next? And then I heard B-Rob this morning say, yeah, give it about an 8 Porzingis gets traded. So what's B-Rob know? And then I'm telling you, I've heard Hauser. I got no sources. People just love to tell me things. I heard Hauser is somebody that they might be able to actually, if you want to talk about acquiring maybe a player, they might be able to get something for him. But at this point, you're under the apron, right? I do think something else is coming, Skaz. If it's Hauser, it's probably not impactful, but I think this Jaylen Brown thing or Derek White thing's in play. I think Simons gives them the ability to consider it. How about that? It gives them the ability to consider it. But what really sucks, this is what sucks, everybody. Next year, we don't have championship aspirations for the Celtics. And you shouldn't. That sucks. Because they have to get... Well, Tatum's not on the team. That's probably number one.
Yeah, and I've seen, a lot of... I don't know if it's Twitter, Celtics fans, whatever it is, but people saying that, the Tatum injury caused all this. This was happening either way.
Whoever the owner was, this was probably going to happen too.
If Wick was still here, this was happening. This was going to happen.
This is why not winning the championship this year was devastating. It was them relying. Guys, for the last week or so, we've been talking about teams that make impacts when they try to go back-to-back. Right? Florida got Brad Marchand. We were talking about some of these other teams that got impacted players, and they won. The Celtics ran it back. They ran it back this year. They couldn't rely on Porzingis. Holiday wasn't ready going into the playoffs with his hamstring. Horford was a big. It didn't work out. They relied on 3 guys. It didn't work out. This is why losing this year is so bad. And it sucks even worse that it was to the New York Knicks. But yes, and then Tatum got hurt, so it was franchise altering. This team went all in to win 2 in a row. I wanted them to go for a 3-peat and force ownership to make the decision on this. How do you break up a 3-peat? How do you do it? They weren't special. And now the Celtics won't be special next year either. 617-779-0985. Let's get the headlines here. We'll continue your calls. We'll get into more of this. I do want to get into that Drew Holiday story. And what else is going on right now? What's the next shoe to drop? I know B-Rob just had a nice little article at Mass Live I do want to get into. So we'll get into that coming up next. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub. I don't know what it is. I think it's Hauser. I just don't think it's enough. If the Celtics are smart, I think their best course of action is keeping Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together. And this year, develop some guys. Like, develop Baylor Shireman. Go get a big. I don't know where. I don't know who. But if it's between Jaylen Brown and Derek White, I'm keeping Jaylen Brown. I bet ownership would probably move on from Jaylen Brown. That's a big number. They need a big. I don't know where they're going to get it. I don't know where they're going to get it. The reason why I don't think the Hauser could still happen in something. I think 2 out of 3 moves are going to happen. I think it's going to be White, Hauser, Brown, or Brown. I think it's either something's going to happen here. The team is no longer together, everybody. And I understand that Porzingis and Drew were the 2 guys that they got to help them get over the hump. They are moving on from talent without giving up assets. It's not worth analyzing what they got in return because it's all salary dumps, everybody. They're dumps. Don't analyze what they got in return. Celebrate that they haven't had to sweeten any deals with assets. I think you can also celebrate that they're under the second apron. Like, this is what they wanted to be. But they're $4 million away from the second apron. So they need to make a move. Need. Hauser, it's probably another $20 million. Does that get them into the first apron? Can they still make moves? I think that will give them the best return. But are any of these about the return at this point? It's about financial flexibility moving forward. So this just coming in, Skaz, you want to share it?
Yeah, well, just a couple things. One, the thing you're mentioning is the Celtics can generate a $22.2 million exception for Porzingis and a $4.7 million trade exception for Drew Holiday. This is another thing, too, and I think Lifshats may have tweeted this out or retweeted it somewhere, but the big thing with the Porzingis, moving his money, and obviously it was a dump, but why they did it is because now they can aggregate salaries. When you're under the second apron, you're allowed to aggregate salaries again, something they couldn't do.
They couldn't even make certain trades or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So being able to aggregate salaries is, it's really inside basketball, but it's a sneaky big thing for them to be able to do.
You're like to use the aggregation. They could throw in like a Jordan Walsh at $4 million, and like Hauser, and somehow get a $15 million player without going over a tax or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately a better question for B-Rob or Keith Smith, who we have on, or Noah later tonight. But yes, now they are able to aggregate salaries. So that is not a small thing.
No, that's they couldn't do that before.
Yes, but Porzingis, it was just a dump. Like, it was.
It's fine, but they and then you mentioned there might be some trade exceptions here too.
Yes, yep, which, the Celtics have been very good at maneuvering those in the past.
So I have a couple of questions on these. We need to find these questions out, but remember they had trade exceptions in the past and never used them. And they had like a whole timetable to do it.
Yeah, there's certain deadlines and stuff like that. What's the
deadline? Because this is before July. Could it be at the end of the season that they use those trade exceptions? Like, this is what I'm talking about, Skaz. Get your finances in order. I think any return you think of this year is meaningless. Don't analyze it. It's no use. It's about the following year when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown together. If they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown together.
And so I think that's a thing, too, that I wonder how much they're weighing not next season, but the following season. If that is the blueprint, if that is the plan, Derek White will be 32, 33. And look, that's still a very good age in the NBA. You could still be an elite player, but we've talked about this, when the season ended. The Celtics need to lower their window. Well, extend their window by lowering their team age. Their window was when you have Horford and Porzingis and Holiday, that's a small window. And I'm not saying a guy like, Simmons or Simons, I'm sorry, I'm going to do that a million times, is, necessarily doing that. But I think they're trying to put themselves in position where they can kind of not reset the window, but, extend it a little bit with some younger guys. I think part of the reason you saw Jalen and Tatum look the way they did at the end of the season is because guys like Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis were on the roster, and Horford was on the roster. These are guys who are not giving you 35 minutes a night. They're not even giving you, 10 minutes a lot of nights because they're taking nights off. And I think you saw what that did to Tatum and Brown over the course of the last, 2 to 3 seasons. These guys played more minutes than anyone in the entire NBA. They played all summer. And, I'm not saying that's why Tatum got hurt. It could be numerous things. But I think looking at them long term and how you're going to have to manage Tatum when he comes back, you need guys that can be out there on a nightly basis. And they're not going to peak at the same level that Porzingis and Holiday did, but they're going to be out there more consistently, and maybe that's, for the betterment of the healthier team going forward.
Man, Porzingis really, when he was healthy, dude, he played so well.
He was awesome.
He really is the unicorn, Skid. He is a unicorn in real life.
We should mention, too, Porzingis loved being a Celtic. Loved it. He talked to the media, which, I know people don't really care about, but he did it in a way where he was open. He was honest. He was, candid about things that were going on. He loved the city. He was having WWE entrances when he was coming back from injury.
He was pretty transparent about some things he was dealing with.
Transparent about just about everything. And so, yeah, it was short-lived, but Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis were, beyond pivotal pieces of that championship run. So their legacies should be cemented. I think they were both unbelievable, terrific Celtics. Holiday has done, countless things in the community. Him and his wife, I should say. I know they're done tons of things. Noah, I'm sure will, fill us in on more of that later. But these were two guys who you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, Drew Holiday, consummate professional, but Porzingis was a lottery ticket-esque, maybe a lottery ticket light, and he came in and did everything you possibly could have wanted him to do, other than, be on the floor. But when he was out there, he was as advertised.
The team was so focused on winning a championship that they probably could have won without him. But I think he jump-started the NBA Finals for them. I
also think he helped Jaylen Brown a lot, I think, on and off the court. I think his rapport with Brown was, I don't think it flew under the radar, because if you're, a diehard Celtics fan, you're well aware of that. But, Tatum had Horford and White. Those are kind of like his, his little group on the team, his best friends. And
Jalen never had a guy.
He didn't really have a guy. And then, Tatum even had Javonte Green at one point, was one of his best friends, was here. And Porzingis came in, and I think they lived in the same building and hit it off.
They had a nice little nickname.
Yeah, hit it off immediately. So that's another thing, too, where he came in, inundated himself to the team. So, shout out Porzingis. He was a very good player when healthy.
They both were great. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis will be, I would love to use the term, never have to buy a drink in this town again. That should go, without saying. One thing I liked about Porzingis this year in particular, end of the season, Jaylen Brown was trying to go out there every night. He was dealing with a knee thing. He needed to play a certain amount of games to reach all NBA. And it was, of all people, it was Kristaps Porzingis who called out Jaylen Brown about playing in games with injuries. And I knew where it was coming from. I don't think anybody else could have said it because, as you just pointed out, Skaz, their relationship was really good. But when they were having their little struggle, right after Christmas, right in January, it was Porzingis that called out the team about their lackadaisical play, and it was Porzingis who was the best player at that point. Tatum was still the best. I'm just saying Porzingis was on another level. Well, I'm sitting there being like, hey, they're not going to beat these guys. They were both great Celtics. They really were. And they should be applauded. Drew Holiday, we'll find out if he stays in Portland. There's some reports. I think Porzingis right now just is thinking about his health. He did tweet or post today that he's feeling better. It's funny how that happened, huh? The signage on that one. But he will play for Latvia, or he's going to try to. And I don't know if Atlanta plays him. Is it worth their best interest to not play him either? I don't know, Skaz. I wonder if there could be a reunion there. for 2026. Whatever. I'm the king of wishful thinking. 617-779-0985. I see you guys on the phone. We'll get to you coming up here on the other side. And B-Rob just wrote a big article of what they saved, what they did, and what's next. We'll do that after this. But first, let's pause for our sponsor, which is brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. We'll talk to you right after this.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub. Luger and Maz. Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Paisley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Well, the Celtics have traded Kristaps Porzingis in a 3-team trade today. They get George Niang back in a draft pick, but they dumped him. The salary dump, they moved on from Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in less than 24 hours. They are under the second apron. They did acquire 2 trade exceptions, one for $22 million and the other for just under $5 million. The Red Sox are back in action tonight. They've lost 3 in a row. They'll take on the Angels of Anaheim. And Garrett Crochet gets the start tonight. And, well, Zdeno Chara, Joe Thornton are going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray.
Here we go.
Boom. I win. Kaboom.
Yeah. It's so funny. We've got a passion for Boston sports. Get angry. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hawks, Terrence Mann, and Atlanta's number 22 pick to the Nets. And George Niang and a second rounder to the Celtics. So they have dumped. They're under the apron. They got about $5 million to go. Another move is coming. I don't know what it is, but I feel it. You guys have heard from us. Let's hear from you at 617-779-0985. We're going to talk to Eli Hershkovich coming up in a little bit. Big basketball guy. Maybe he can give us some thoughts on the draft as well. We'll talk to Noah Dalzell later on tonight from CLNS. Let her get all her stories and podcasts and everything she's got going, and she'll join us later on tonight. Let's talk to Nick. He is in Reading. Hey, Nick, what's going on, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Joe?
Good.
All right. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about the projected starting lineup and about Jaylen Brown potentially getting traded. So I know they just got Simmons. He's probably going to be our starting shooting guard.
Simons.
We got Derek White at point guard. We got Jason Tatum is he a power forward? We don't have a big man, right? So I feel like we're going to be trading for a big man. And I know Jaylen Brown is in the trade talks, and so is what's his name on the Bucks, Giannis. I think that'd be a good trade right there. Like, we need a power forward. We don't have one right now after Porzingis and Horford just retired. We don't have a big man.
Horford retired?
Yeah, I thought so. That's what my friend texted me anyways. That's what as far as I know, he retired.
As far as you know, huh?
Like 2 months ago, right? Didn't he right after the night after they lost to the Knicks?
That is false.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, they don't really have many big men. I know Al Horford is kind of like even if he's not a starting, I don't think he's a starter anymore. So I don't think he's going to be in the starting lineup.
Nick, I got to talk to you, buddy. The Celtics they're not competing for a championship next year. Are you okay with that?
No, I'm okay with that. I'm just saying, even for the future, right?
They're not. They're,
like you're saying, they need to bump salaries.
Yeah, they're not going to acquire anything right now. Unless they make a move for Jaylen, like you said. I don't think they're going to get anything of anyone to compete for this year.
Well, what about if they traded Jaylen and maybe like a couple picks for Giannis? And I know,
yeah, but you're still not competing,
right? But I mean, even Giannis is still. Yeah, but you can still compete with just Giannis.
Just Giannis? Are you serious?
And Anthony Simons, 100%.
Simons.
Yeah, Simons. My bad. Yeah.
I think I think you suck.
That's a superstar and a star player.
It's a superstar and not a star player.
I think you're underrating Simon.
No. If anything, I feel like Skaz and I are the only ones who've ever watched the guy play. He won the slam dunk contest. He was one of the worst players on Portland. He wanted out of there. They gave him a big, giant extension to keep him happy to stay. Then they go and draft Scoot Henderson and Sharp, and then they trade everybody they get, and they tried DeAndre Ayton, and they bring in Chauncey Billups. I've watched this guy so much. I actually do think he's a good player. But you know what? I can't have any expectations for him. You know why? Because he makes $26 million and his expiring contract, and he plays no defense, but that doesn't matter unless they're trying to go all in and they trade Jaylen Brown. And if they're going to trade Jaylen Brown, this is who I would consider. And Skaz, you mentioned it off the air. Sorry, I didn't mean that. The Simons thing is like Simons. I know, I do it too. Simmons, Simons, whatever. Just they're not competing for a championship this year. And if they win, blah me, okay? Because I thought they'd win last year. But just, oh, well, they got to get this guy. They got to get that guy. If they make a significant move, it's to free up money. That's what it's for. It's not to move on from one player to another to win a championship. They're not doing the mixing and matching. It's about money, 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 everybody. They're not competing this year. Money, finances, aprons. Do I need to get aprons? Do we need to wear aprons? I'm the first apron. Skaz is the second apron. What do we got to do here to tell everybody that right now the team that they have, they are trying to get their finances in order. They will not be competing for a championship unless they make a crazy trade. Crazy would be honest. Crazy would be something like that. I'm going to stop now, Skaz.
Anthony Simons, not a star.
Not a star. Not even an all-star.
I hate to be the one to break it to that.
Not even an all-star.
Not even an all-star.
Was he? I don't know if he ever was, actually.
Not even the best player on his team in Portland.
Not anymore. Tell me the trade that you set off the air about Miami.
Well, I was
you were just playing hypothetical.
Yeah, because if the Jaylen Brown rumors are out there, and I'm not a believer that they're going to trade Jaylen Brown. I think it would be Derek White before it would be Jaylen, but who knows? If it was Jaylen Brown, would you do Bam Adebayo, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kyle Anderson, whoever else, and picks from Miami? I would say no to that, but to me, that's a Tatum-friendly trade there. And then the other one that people are throwing out there, which I don't think is any possibility of happening, especially because of the money, is the Dallas Mavericks have the first overall pick tomorrow night. Jaylen Brown for the Mavs' first overall pick.
So that one I'll dismiss.
Yeah.
Because I think
rightfully so.
The Mavs will get crushed for that. Bam Adebayo is interesting to me. Who's Bam's buddy?
His best friend is Jason Tatum.
Now, why would the Heat give the Celtics Bam Adebayo? I don't know. But for Jaylen Brown?
Why would the Milwaukee Bucks give the Celtics Giannis? But people seem to think that's going to happen.
It's very hot outside, Skaz.
Maybe the heat's getting to people, Joe.
No, I am not. It's not getting to me.
It got to me earlier, but I'm okay now.
I know. Yeah, I know.
That'll be amusings.
Yes. But I feel like I'm the most level-headed when it comes to this compared to the listeners. Why do we care about the return? They dumped 2 players. They're under the apron. Their return, they didn't give up assets. That's a win. That is a win. But I just think that people are thinking, well, go get this guy in Simons, and now you're in the game. No, you just lost Kristaps Porzingis, who was one of the best big men in the league last year. When healthy, he was. You just lost Drew Holiday, one of the best two-way players in basketball. Like, you don't have Jason Tatum, a top 5 player in the NBA. You're worse. You're a worse team. You're not a championship team. You're not. Do we all have to talk about this right now? Do we have to do this? Everyone, the Celtics are not going to compete for a championship this year. Will they be a 5 seed? Maybe a 4 seed? Yes. Could they win 50 games? They probably could. They're not competing for a championship. They're not. I think people have to take a step back. Has there been any bigger supporter for the Celtics than Skaz and I? Have you heard every other show crap all over us for the honest and transparent coverage that we've given the team? People call us green teamers, but we've been at least accurate. I thought the team could go back-to-back this year. They weren't special. They weren't. I thought they were. But I've been beating the door that they make teams tap out, which they did. Then they tapped out. Now the Celtics, because they didn't win, now the Celtics ownership or whatever, money, GM, whatever, now they're tapping out. And they're saying, hey, you know what? It's like being at the poker table or the blackjack table. You've been full tilt for a long time. Now you got to now your amounts, now you got to lower your limits a little bit now. You got to get your horses back. So when you do actually get the horse out of the barn in Jason Tatum, then you push your money back into the table. Is this how I have to explain this to people? Right now, they are pulling away from the blackjack table. Instead of a $50 handle, they're doing a $25 handle. Okay? They cashed in some of their nice $500,000 chips. Now they have red $25 chips. That's what they're playing with right now, everyone. And they're going to make a few moves and be strategic. And when they get their horse back, they're going to put in their red for more blue, black chips. And they're going to be back in again. I hope that was transparent enough for everybody. They're not competing for a championship this year. They're not. That's what sucks about the trade. The trades. And trust me, it's not over yet. They might be moving on from a Jalen, Derek White, or a Hauser. I think it's either 2 out of 3 or 1. One of those 3 is gone. Something's happened here. 617-779-0985. Let's talk to Ben. He's in Groveland. Ben.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
How you doing?
Hey, so I completely agree with you that it's about the salary, but I do want to argue one thing. So right now, they're 4th in odds to win the Eastern Conference, okay? I think that's unlikely, but I think we're a little too low. If Jaylen Brown's a former All-NBA player, Peyton Pritchard's your sixth man of the year award winner, and Derek White, for the last couple of years, have been argued as a borderline all-star player. I know Cleveland's still there. They might lose Garland. I mean, they could still make the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, look what happened this year. No one thought it was going to be Pacers and Knicks, and that could definitely happen again, Joe.
So do you think they'll beat Oklahoma City, Denver, the Lakers, or any of those
That's the
teams?
West, Joe. I get what you're saying. I don't think they're going to win a championship.
I said the Celtics won't compete for a championship this year. Am I wrong?
What if they won the Eastern Conference? Would you consider that competing?
It would be I'd be thrilled, and it would be one of Joe Mazzulla's best, beautiful masterpieces.
Now, I'm really worried then if we're relying on Joe Mazzulla on that one. But I get what you're saying, Joe. I mostly agree with you, but I think they can still make quote unquote waves in the East.
No,
with their
dude,
current
they're gonna win 50 games. That's good. That's good. That is good. I'm just telling you right now, they're not going to win a championship.
Oh, I agree then. See you, Joe.
Did you go to Champions? Damn it. He hit me up about going to Champions. They have great steak tips. I hope my blackjack poker table analogy hit hard there, Skaz. Does that make sense? Their limits have gone from $50 per hand to $25 per hand. And they cashed in some of their $1,000 chips. And they got a lot of red. And they're just playing hands until they get their horse out of the barn, and then they'll go right back in full tilt, baby. Is that a good analogy?
Let's hope, Joe. Let's hope that's the plan. You're selling it. I'm buying it.
I'll tell you this, though. I think right now, I think the Jaylen Brown thing's on the table. B-Rob said a 5 this morning. Is that a 50-50? Is that a 50-50 yes or no?
50-50 yes.
50-50 yes? No, for real. Now, let's just use San Antonio. Let's do it. San Antonio could give, I don't know, Castle, whatever. Whatever it is, people. Jaylen Brown makes $50 million a year. They would save millions in the tax. And then they could make the moves that everyone's screaming for. Something's about to come down. Hauser could get them to the mark. White would get you a big return. But right now, I think they're just getting their finances in order. We'll talk to Eli Hershkovich. We'll get his thoughts. We'll take a look at the draft, too, because there's a lot going on there. Eli works for Katina Media. He does a ton of stuff over there. We'll get his thoughts on everything happening in the NBA and the draft this week. We'll do that next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the
All right, back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Well, it's great when you show up to the show and breaking news happens. Last night when we left, we got breaking news on our way home. And Drew Holiday got traded. The NBA draft is tomorrow night. There's a lot going on. I do want to welcome in right now. He works at a lot of places. TheLions.com, Lineups.com, Katina Media. You know him. His name is Eli Hershkovich. He joins us here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Eli, what's going on tonight, bud?
You ready to talk some Danny Wolf, my man?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, there is new rumors about maybe the Celtics trying to get into the top 10. But before that, I do want to get your thoughts, though. The NBA in general, right, with all the new tax implications and aprons and things of that degree, we just saw two teams in a final that aren't taxpayers. The Thunder have a galore of future picks and could keep this thing going. But just in the last hour, Eli, or in the last 24 hours, let's say, the Celtics, who are a championship team, have traded Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. They did it without giving up assets, and really, they didn't really get much in return for that matter. So they dumped them. They dumped them both. But is this now the trend? And I guess, where do draft picks become important when it comes to the salary? Because a lot of these championship teams, they don't rely on draft picks early on, or like I said, the Celtics don't want to draft a guy and play him right away. It's just, or Joe Mazulla says that. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on all the moves going on and how it relates to the draft.
Yeah, I like that. I like that topic shift. And it's interesting because you got me thinking a little bit how college basketball has changed, where freshmen, 5 4-star recruits that are playing in their freshman season theoretically on a year-over-year basis aren't even on teams, upper echelon teams in college basketball, because of how NIL has impacted the sport. And now you think about the NBA, like you mentioned, with the second apron. I personally am a fan of it, just by the notion that you're not going to have dynasties. I know Celtics fans probably hate me for saying that, but as a casual NBA fan, more of a diehard college basketball fan, I would rather watch teams that are like the Thunder, like the Pacers, maybe not in the NBA Finals every single year, but a contender, and then you have another team the year after that kind of sneaks up on you. We'll see. Maybe it's the Magic next season. So I'm personally a fan of the second apron and how it impacts a team like Boston and so on and so forth.
Well, there is a report. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the Celtics right now, but it was just reported a little while ago that the Celtics are looking to get into the top 10, and they want that Yakachunas kid from Illinois. I don't know how they get up into the lottery. They have a bunch of draft picks, future picks, and maybe even players for that matter. But tell us about this kid. I watched him at Illinois. He was absolutely outstanding. He'd probably fit well into that Mazulla offense. Can you tell us a little bit about the big, at least the guard from Illinois?
He is a big guard, though. So you were on pace there,
yep,
in a positive direction with your scouting report. So just over 15 points per game at Illinois, around right under 5 assists per game, 5.6 rebounds. So well-rounded guard. Turnovers were an issue, though, for him when you look at his assist-to-turnover ratio, and that kind of hurt Illinois down the stretch last season. But when you're thinking about a prototypical Celtics guard, at least from what we've seen under Joe Mazulla and even under Ime Udoka, you're talking about a 3-level scorer that can play up-tempo, play in a pace and space offense, and create in transition. And Yakachunas was one of the best point guards really, combo guards in college basketball at doing just that last season. When you look at his assist rate, top 160 in the country at over a 26% assist rate. Like I said, the turnover clip was an issue, just over 25% turnover rate, but considering his possession rate was fairly high amongst combo guards and what he meant to this team, you also have to keep in mind Illinois dealt with a lot of flu bugs last year, and that kind of tanked his stock at one point, tanked Illinois' NCAA tournament hopes at also one juncture of the season. But long story short, Joe, big fan of Yakachunas if he cuts down on the turnover, so kind of akin to Jaylen Brown in that regard.
The Celtics need bigs, man. They just traded Porzingis. They got George Niang in a trade. I don't think he's going to hang around. No one knows about Horford yet. They have no bigs. Who are the bigs that I don't know where they're going to draft. They have some. Right now it's 28 and 32, but they could move around. But I asked you this the last time we talked. Are there any bigs that you have in mind that the Celtics could maybe plug and play right away?
Well, the one that is going to stand out to a lot of Celtics fans and casual college basketball fans too that are looking toward what Boston can do with, assuming they don't move up. Let's go with the notion that they keep the 28th pick and they keep their early second-round pick and don't move in to the top 10. Danny Wolf, a guy we touched on the last time I was on your show, a theoretical stretch 5, but you look at his three-point shooting, around 33%, not an upper echelon three-point shooter, not a high-volume three-point shooter, either floor spacer. Turnovers were a big issue for him as well, so similar to Jakic, despite the position differential. And then when you think about Celtics bigs like a Porzingis, formerly of Boston, I guess, you want a big in a floor spacing offense that can create off the dribble, and Wolf was known for that, especially with his ability in pick and roll with another Michigan big man who's likely going to be taken in the second round, Vlad Golden. But when you look at Wolf's analytics, 0.77 points per possession as the pick and roll ball handler. So I'm not a huge Danny Wolf guy when it comes to upside, especially just because I don't think those turnovers are going to cut down. So dissimilar to Jakic in that way. And I also am not a fan of his ability to create as a primary or secondary ball handler, depending on what the set is. A couple other bigs, or at least one other big that I really like, is Ryan Kalkbrenner, one Defensive Player of the Year in each of his 4 seasons at Creighton. I'm sure you've touched on him a lot on previous shows, maybe even tonight. But elite shot blocker, also really good defensively in drop coverage. Now, he doesn't switch much, and also the rebounding stats don't stand out, just under 8 rebounds per game at Creighton. But just thinking about what Boston runs defensively in drop coverage, kind of like with Porzingis and with Kornet. So Kalkbrenner could seemingly slide in there, can also space the floor. Like Wolf, not a high-volume three-point shooter, but improved his floor spacing enough where I think Kalkbrenner, either with that late first-round pick, early second-round pick, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and of course he played with Baylor Shireman, who's on the Celtics right now, and it looks like with some of the moves they've made, Shireman's going to have a bigger impact, and hey, it might not be bad to have a guy with some familiarity there. So, good. And Danny Wolf, both these guys, Wolf, they need bigs, so this is why we're talking about it. But both those guys, they had nice little runs in the playoffs. They have experience, so they are guys that just, they're not green bananas. They've had some experience, and I'm sure if they needed them in certain roles, I think they could play in the NBA. We're talking with Eli Hershkovich. You can check out his work. I know he works at thelines.com, lineups.com. Cooper Flagg obviously is going to be the number 1 pick. We've been flirting with the idea of could they ever trade the pick, like if Jaylen Brown was happened to be available or something to that degree. I think Dallas would be crazy to do that. Are we locked in on Dylan Harper's second? Who goes third? How do you see the top 4 or 5 shaping up?
So I did a write-up on this. I did a mock draft, my second mock draft, and I'm sure there are a myriad of mock drafts that everybody listening has read over at least the last few days. But it's Harper at 2. It's obviously Flagg at 1. Those guys have absurd odds when you look at the betting markets. Flagg is minus 20,000 favorite over at DraftKings. Harper minus 8,000 to go number 2 overall. But then it gets interesting because Ace Bailey, this was the topic of my story from earlier today. Ace Bailey opened when the NBA draft market, betting market opened up. Bailey was around plus 105, so near even money, 50% implied probability to go number 3 overall to the Philadelphia 76ers, a rival of the Celtics. And then the market started to shift. Bailey up to minus 135. But when he canceled, odd situation, but he canceled his workout with the 76ers a couple weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, VJ Edgecombe has become the prominent top talking point for who Philly could take at number 3. Similar position, Edgecombe a little bit smaller, but can handle it, could shoot it as well. Really solid freshman year at Baylor. Now favored and then some to go to Philly at minus 275 over at DK. So that's really where the draft opens up. How far down does Ace Bailey drop based on these off-the-court concerns, not necessarily his on-the-court product? So Bailey right now slipping in mock draft, slipping in the betting market to number 6 overall, favored at that pick currently to the Washington Wizards at plus 150. Then you got guys like Trey Johnson, Con Knippel from Duke, and Knippel has become the odds-on favorite to go to Charlotte with the 4th overall pick. Johnson then number 5 to Utah. But unarguably, Ace Bailey is the biggest topic of the NBA draft tomorrow night.
All right. Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm just wondering, well, some of these guys, they like you said, they work out, then they don't, then they disappear. I'm locked in tomorrow night. Like I love the draft, man. And Eli, I know you're like one of the best basketball guys going. So I'll give you a little pat on the back for that one. But what I also like about you is you're a betting man. And I know you run, and everybody go to lineups.com. I just tweeted it out, but you can see his entire mock. But you have a bet on a player that played for John Calipari. And, well, in your, mock draft, I think you have him maybe ending up with the Boston Celtics. Could you tell our listeners about that player?
So the guy that you're referring to, Adu Thiero, 3-4-man tweener for Arkansas, I bet him yesterday at even money to go in the first round. You could find plus money, plus 120 even, depending on the shop. But the book that I bet Thiero at is now up to minus 120. So as we've seen with NFL draft betting markets, NBA draft betting markets, the odds are all over the place. But regardless, I think Thiero, among those late first-round picks, when 2-3 years down the road, when we think about redrafts or how would the draft go today based on productivity on some of these guys, I think Thiero is going to grade as a lottery pick, maybe even a top 5, top 10 guy. And I think Boston would be crazy based on the Tatum injury, even though they need a big, not to take a kid like this. One of the best defenders in college basketball. I know if you watched March Madness, he was out, had a calf injury, I believe, or a lower body injury to the point where he played limited minutes only in the Sweet 16, didn't play in either of Arkansas's first 2 games. But an elite defender, not a great shooter, shot only around 21% on uncontested threes. So that'll probably piss off Celtics fans if he's in the rotation next season, especially with the offense that Mazulla runs. But in transition, this is where Thiero thrives. Just over 1.25 points per possession in transition, 96th percentile in college basketball, which if you read between the lines or just want to sum that up, really, really good, and an athletic 3-4 potentially in the NBA that can score and then some in transition. Not the best around the rim in terms of finishing through contact, but upside absolutely there. If you look at mock drafts, he's in the second round, but he's getting first-round grades. So that's why we're seeing the odds shift a bit for Thiero to be a first-round pick and why I like him at plus money.
All right, Eli, before we let you go, I like to look at the 2026 mock draft. There's a lot. There's a lot of high school kids that are going. There's a local kid from outside of Boston, AJ DeBanza. He's going to BYU. We know about the Boozer brothers, right? Cameron Boozer is probably going to be a top player for Duke. If you were to bet right now, who do you think the number 1 pick would be based off how they play this year in college, and who would you bet on today?
DeBanza, I would probably take with the first pick at this point, just based on projections and tape. Another guy that I think is under the radar, and when we talk about John Calipari guards, Darius Acuff Jr., I'm very bullish on Arkansas next season, and I think Acuff is going to be a monster, assuming he and DJ Wagner, veteran guard for Arkansas, can work things out in terms of who handles the ball at certain points in the game. But Acuff is the guy I'm highest on. Cameron Boozer, of course, is getting all the praise right now for Duke just because of what Duke basketball means across the country, not just in the college basketball landscape, but also Darren Peterson for Kansas is another guy that is going to be in the conversation for number one. So if you're asking me best upside at this point, I think it's Acuff, but who would I take with the first pick at this very moment? Dabansa or Peterson, the five-star kid for Kansas.
Just to stay with this, do you think next year's class is probably better than this year's class with all those high school kids come in? Dabansa, you mentioned Peterson's another one. I mentioned Boozer. Arkansas got this kid, was it Malik Thomas, right? Like elite
shooter.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of kids coming out of whether prep school, high school that are going to be big time performers as freshmen next year.
Well, you look at the top third upper echelon of the lottery. You got a bunch of freshmen: Flagg, Harper, Edgecombe, Knipple, Bailey, Trey Johnson. All those kids are freshmen, but I agree with you holistically across the draft, especially latter part of the first, early portion of the second. I say that with a caveat because I really like Adou-Thiero's game, but overall, with some of these veteran guys that are coming out of the draft, even a Janai Broom, who was right there for the Wooden Award with Cooper Flagg this season until he got hurt. I don't want to say they've maxed out on their ceiling already, but fourth and fifth year seniors, theoretically and just on paper, don't have as much upside as 18-year-old kids, especially when you're speaking to a talent like Cooper Flagg. So I think overall, in the overall landscape of next year's draft, with some of the five stars that could leave college basketball after one season, like a Peterson and Acuff, I would doubt Dabansa. I mean, no shot. I would bet the no and then some on him to come back after one season at BYU. So I think overall, when you look at the latter part of the first round, early part, and the entire part of the second round, I think your point makes sense that next year's class has more upside at least.
Ooh, see, this is what I was trying to tell the Celtics fans today is the Celtics are at the blackjack table right now, and they were full tilt for a long time. Now they've cashed in some of their chips, and they went from $50 minimum to $25 minimum, and they're just going to hold their chips. And then once the horse is out of the barn with Jason Tatum, they're going to go right back in full tip in 2026. So that's at least what I'm trying to tell Celtics fans. But saying that next year's class could be good, they might have a lot of picks where they can try to at least acquire one of those players next year.
Yeah, and going back to something we also touched on last time I was on with you, it was wild to see the Celtics title odds when they opened up for next season. DraftKings had the Celtics at plus 1,200 to win the NBA title. Now their best odds are still at DK at 20-1, but just based on the fact that Tatum is likely out next season, and you hinted at it from the get-go, Jaylen Brown could be on the move. I still am doubtful that happens, but nonetheless, trading veterans like Holiday and Porzingis, I get why the Celtics number has to be at that price, but no way in bleep am I betting Boston to win it all next season. 20-1, 25, 30-1. I don't care the price. I'm not touching the seas.
Well, you just validated me, Eli, so I'm very happy about that. I just did an hour and a half telling everybody, stop caring about the return for these guys. It's about getting their finances in order. So thank you for validating me. Eli, what do you got for the draft? Where can everybody find you, and what do you guys got going on?
Yeah, more draft betting content coming up tomorrow over at lineups.com. You can follow me on X at Eli Hershkovich. We're going to shy away from the Danny Wolf love like last time. We're all in. All chips on the table for Adou-Thiero. How about that?
Oh, and what's the number again? I know you bet it already. He was at 28. He was even money, I think, to go in the first half, right? Was that what I just saw a little while ago? So that's your guy, huh?
Yeah, I'm a big and let's say I lose the bet and he goes into second round, that's fine because, well, not for my wallet's sake, but in terms of a prospect, you're getting great value with him if he dips to the second round for sure.
Well, they already have Jordan Walsh, who's from Arkansas, and well, we're still waiting on that one. We're still We're still waiting. He's Eli Hershkovich, everybody. Eli, great job. Good luck tomorrow night. Have some fun. And we'll do it again this summer. We'll have you on, and then when the odds come out for football, we'll do that as well.
How about summer league betting?
Hey, listen. If the games are on, man, we're betting. Oh, I love that when you get like the guys that. Hey, I remember that guy. He used to play for so and so. The Celtics were just looking at a Turkish guy. What was he plays in? He used to play for Wisconsin. Nigel Davis.
Nigel Hayes.
Hey, I was like, wait, I remember that guy from 2016. They went on a big run in the Big Ten. I remember that. So I still remember these guys.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. Whenever you want to talk summer league ball, summer league betting, I'm happy to come back on, my man.
You got it. He's Eli Hershkovich, everybody. Check out all his work. Lineups.com, thelines.com. Eli, great job, man. We'll catch up soon.
Have a good rest of the show.
You got it. He's Eli Hershkovich. Go check out his work. Tomorrow's the draft. And by the way, just so I know, we spell the name, just in case, because people have been wondering, who the hell is this guy? His name is Eli Hershkovich. Hershkovich. But it's okay, as we can just call him Eli. All right, let's go to break. We'll hit the headline. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub.
Trey, our intern, did it and really fast. So thank you, Trey. Great job to you. Shout out. Wow, we've had a lot of people on our YouTube tonight. Thank you for everybody checking in. A lot of people I don't know in there tonight. I like that. A lot more people. 617-779-0985. We should probably mention that Zdeno Chara got into the Hall of Fame today. It's a big deal. We'll get back to the basketball stuff for you. Don't worry. But I think we should give some time to the Zdeno Chara, who was on vacation today when the Hockey Hall of Fame called. I guess they've yet to reach him, or at least a couple hours ago, they've yet to reach him to tell him that he's made the Hall of Fame. So I think that's fairly or pretty funny about it. But Zdeno Chara changed the culture here in Boston. He changed the culture. He was the captain. He helped lift the cup, was a defenseman for a championship team. He was polarizing at 6'9", played for the Islanders, Ottawa, went to the Bruins, and then had a couple of brief stays, well, once with the Capitals. But he captained the Bruins. He was a great Bruin. Led them to the Stanley Cup, as I mentioned, 2 additional appearances in the final in 13 and 19. He was a force. Wingspan, physicality. He won the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman in 2000. It was a 6-time finalist for the award. He had you want to talk about a slap shot, bro? That's a Hall of Fame slap shot. I dare someone. There's got like the Bruins had a guy. He was hurt like most of the time, but they had a guy named Ali Afridi in the 90s, Skaz. That dude, he was hurt all the time. But man, he had a slap shot, baby. Chara was the hardest. He had a massive slap shot. I think that's what he's really known for. He's won the competition, 5 straight years. He had a record 109 miles per hour in 2012. Internationally, he was on the Slovakian team. He was world championship. He helped win a silver for Team Europe. Like, the guy is legendary. His leadership qualities, bar none. Simply put, Zdeno Chara, polarizing figure, was enormous in so many ways. He's remembered probably as one of the very best to ever play in the NHL, and I don't know how many guys at that size played like Chara, but man, sure, Hall of Famer, and congrats to him.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the leadership. That's kind of what I'll remember most about Chara. Obviously, he was a giant, the fights, the slap shots, like you mentioned, but he changed the culture. He changed the franchise. Like, it's not, I think you could say Kevin Garnett kind of did that when he came to Boston, but they had Paul Pierce already. Zdeno Chara was a legit culture changer. Like, he changed everything. And, he didn't just come in and, yell at guys he was a leader, and he changed how they treated rookies in that room. He made sure everyone in the room was valued. He made sure, there was no hazing. He made the Boston Bruins a team. He made them a group of individuals going after a common goal. And that was something that they hadn't been. It was a little, I remember when Chara got traded here, but before that, I remember them losing in the playoffs and stuff like that. But Zdeno Chara was as legit of a culture changer as you could possibly have in that sport.
For a long time.
For a long time. He was the definition of a captain. I know at the end people, wanted Bergeron to get that, but Zdeno Chara exemplified everything that, a hockey captain should be, and he was a great Boston Bruin, a legend, rafters, Hall of Fame, all that. Just an incredibly good, guy, too, by all standards. So, he's a generational type player, I think, because of his size and because of what he did. I know he's not, Wayne Gretzky or, Patrick Kane or someone like that, but his impact in this city and on that team is hard to quantify.
He's not Ray Bork. He's not Bobby Orr. He was him. He was Zdeno Chara, Hall of Famer. He was a great leader. You're right, Skaz. All those guys matured around him. Bergeron, Marchand, right? All these guys matured. And he was awesome in the locker room. I also should mention that Joe Thornton, who the Bruins selected number 1 overall.
Jumbo Joe.
That's what he was. Also getting into the Hall of Fame. I think in reality, people will probably look back at Joe Thornton as a failure in Boston. But Joe Thornton played 24 years in the NHL. He's 14th all time in points. He's one of 16 NHL players to cross 1,500 points. He had 1,100 assists, 7th all time, 5th amongst forwards. He played over 1,700 games at rank 6th all time. He won the Hart Trophy, the Art Ross. He spent 15 years with the Sharks. He did make a Stanley Cup in 2016, which I think the world was rooting for Joe Thornton, by the way. At least hockey fans were. Of course, spent 8 seasons with the Bruins, who drafted him number 1 overall in 97. Spent his last 2 seasons with Toronto and Florida. Won Olympic gold for Canada. Won the World Cup of Hockey 04 and 16. Won a gold medal for Canada at the World Juniors. He's one that got away. I just don't know if the Bruins... I don't know if Joe Thornton could have won with the Bruins. I don't know. He didn't win with anybody. And I think that's what sucks because he's going to be known for that.
I think that kind of proves your point.
I don't want to make it the Dan Marino of hockey.
Yeah, but
it's close.
Yeah, directionally correct. Yeah, they're not that far off.
Great player. Deserved one. He deserved. Hey, listen. Marchand's got 2. Bergeron has 1. Chara has 1. Thornton didn't. It stinks. I don't want to bring that up the day he gets into the Hall of Fame.
But it's a talking point, yeah.
It's fact. All right, there we go. I wanted to give a shout-out. 2 former Bruins making the Hockey Hall of Fame. Others got in. Duncan Keith. Alexander McGillney. Oh, my God. I played him in NHL 94. He was like the greatest player of all time. I loved Alexander McGillney. Oh, the old days. Pavel Bure, Sergei Fedorov, and all those speedy guys on the wings. Oh, I loved them. All right, we got In or Out coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success is And if you want the reaction, I'll get into it after this. You can also go to YouTube and watch our videos. Trey, our intern, set it up tonight, so nice job by him. Skaz, what do we have?
Yeah.
Give me a second here.
It's he's not going anywhere. He's staying with his current team. What, you want me to tell the people, Joe? You want to tell the people?
I don't know yet, no.
This from Shams Sharania. Dallas Mavericks 9-time NBA All-Star Kyrie.
I mean, this is the same guy that got, well, I mean, I don't suggest anybody touch anybody in the workplace as far as physical, but happened to him.
I missed that. I had no idea.
Latrell Springs, you don't remember?
Oh, that. Yes, I do. Yes, yeah.
Choked out his coach.
PJ Carlissimo Joe is 76 years old.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
So him and who's the other guy that just retired this year? He was the old Suns coach there. My God, he just retired this year. Herb Hubie Brown.
Yeah.
So he's like what, 8?
Dead on.
I only know this because he wrestled at WrestleMania a couple of years ago versus Sami Zayn. It was really fun. Steve-O was there, right? I think Steve-O was there. Oh no, the dude who wears the underwear is always running naked all the time.
Wee Man? Preston, maybe?
No, Wee Man was there too.
Preston
was there.
Yeah.
That was
Dave
funny.
English.
They did a good job, and they were doing this thing that would punch you in the midsection, and that ended up happening. It was fun. Actually, it was a pretty decent match. You know, I feel like a reality show. For example, let's give Ryan Seacrest some credit. We'd hear him on the top 40, and, you know, he was on, American Idol and all that stuff. He's a very good producer for reality television. I don't think he does Fear Factor, but I do think there are some great producers who make this great content. Anyways. Was it Party Boy? I think it was Party Boy, now that I think about it. Chris Pontius. Thank you, everybody. Sorry.
I was not a Dave England guy. He was the only one that kind of bothered me when I used to watch that back in the day. He used to cry all the time. I was like, come on, man. You know what you're getting into.
Did you watch Jackass?
Oh, yeah. The movies, yes.
So
it was right in my wheelhouse.
So, again, I'm 43, so what was happening when I was a senior in high school was like Tony Hawk became really big, but I wasn't a skateboarder. Like, imagine a 300-pound man on a skateboard. It just doesn't work. But Jackass became a thing. Like CKY was their band, right?
Yeah, and it was something before it was Jackass, too. It was the Wild Boys or something like that.
But, I mean, I would watch MTV constantly to watch Jackass, and, you know, they were doing crazy, stupid stuff. I would talk about it the next day. It was that kind of television. But we didn't have social media back then, so we used to use AIM on Instant Messenger and be like, dude, did you see guys snort the what?
That is going to wrap up, Joe, a Tuesday night edition of In or Out.
Remember when Francis Ngannou punched that guy in the balls? I feel like that's been a theme this week, guys. People talking about testicular fortitude. All right. The championship team is no more. We'll react to it and take your calls at 617-779-0985. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more.
This is new.
This is new.
You don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, I'm going to show you some stuff right here. All right, leave it alone. All right.
The reason why we played that was, if you guys remember, in May of 2024, there was an article in the Boston Globe, and Noah Dalzell actually shared that, who will be joining us in about an hour. But Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown developed a great bond when Porzingis arrived in Boston. They carpool together. They work in tandem on the court. They have a nickname. But they had a great connection, and they went to Atlanta together. Atlanta, of course, is where Jaylen Brown is from, and Porzingis, Brown brought Porzingis to his high school, showed him around the jiu-jitsu place that he goes to, and, he went to Wheeler High School and just went on to just show him the old gym where he played. Porzingis then asked Brown if his team won a championship playing in high school. He was McDonald's All-American, all that. He showed Porzingis the new gym he helped build. And in that clip, I think Porzingis says he could live there. I think he might have said that. Is that foreshadowing?
I believe we call that a little foreshadowing, Joe.
Do we? I mean, I'm not going to say we manifested it. I won't do that.
No, certainly not.
I won't take credit for that, but I don't know. Kristaps Porzingis gets a tour of Atlanta from Jaylen Brown, his teammate. And today...
Former teammate.
And then today we find out Kristaps Porzingis gets traded to Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Welcome to Atlanta.
He's going to have to get some of those wings, Joe. Magic City.
Yeah, the Magic City, baby. Oh, yes.
Is that Lou Will?
Yes. Kristaps Porzingis and Magic City wings. Oh, the unicorn flavor. Please.
There you go. Yes.
Yes. There's a strip club out there, Trey. I don't know if you know about that. It's called, it's all right. I just want to let you know. The unicorn in Atlanta, baby. Can you play that guy? Did he? I think he said he could live there. Just wanted to make sure that he did.
They're like somewhere close. You come to Delhi, you got the martial arts next to it. We can go work on our jiu-jitsu.
Some stuff right here. All right, leave it alone.
He's somewhere in there. He said he loved it there.
Like the very, very beginning. It's almost like cut off, but yes.
Loved it. He thought he could have. Well, get used to it now, Kristaps. Call up your boy and be like, hey, what was the name of that place you took me to a great lunch there? What was that? Do you think this upset Jaylen Brown? Doesn't matter.
I think it does matter, but I think to answer the question, yes, I do think it upset Jaylen Brown, but I think it kind of a weird reaction. I mean, it's Twitter, so who knows, but we all knew this was coming. Like, there's some, shocked reaction, some the second apron's really was coming, too.
Again, to set it up, they moved on from Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and Malcolm Brogdon. 3 big pieces to what got them to an NBA Finals. They traded them for Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, which, when we look back on it, Skaz, some of the greatest trades in Boston sports history. It was. Now, if you look at it, I will take the championship every single time. There are a lot of trades that you can look back on and be like, but did they win a championship? That's all that matters. You'll take it every time.
Joe, would you like a food question, a pressing food question we have in our chat?
What do we have?
Someone wants to know, Joe, how long do they cook the Ken's pineapple salsa with cream cheese and shredded cheese, and at what temperature?
Oh, my temperature?
Yes.
Well, if you're using an air fryer, it would be 450. I would do 7 minutes first, and then look, and then, play with it. If it's, you know what I mean. Put a spoon in it. Or spoon it. Everyone's laughing at me. And then all I see is people laughing at me. Now, in the oven, you could do a little 420 action, 8 to 10, So, okay, it's really hot today, though. Why are we doing this?
Joe, the people, I didn't want to derail you, but I know this was something you brought up on the air recently, but you're a big pineapple salsa guy. And someone in chat was desperately looking for help.
Now, I do the Kens. Trader Joe's, though. You ever been to a Trader Joe's trade? Oh, my God. What don't they do well? The best frozen food I've ever had. Oh, those chocolate-covered bananas.
Trey said he just went. He said there's one right next to him.
Oh, my. The chocolate-covered bananas, bro. Oh, my God. They're like the greatest dessert ever. They're like little bites of just glorious cream. I love them. But yes, they make a pineapple salsa there. That is, in Trey, how I make mine. It's real easy. I get a nice little brick of cream cheese, Philadelphia cream cheese. And I just pop that in a nice little plate or a ramekin, whatever you prefer. Then I get the Ken's or the Newman's pineapple salsa. Why did I say Ken's? Newman's pineapple salsa. Put that on top. Then I get shredded cheese, and I put the cheese on it. That's it. That's all I do. And I pop it in the oven. It's nothing hard, right? Pretty easy. 3 ingredients is all you need, and chips. Or whatever you want to dip. I'm a dipper. And that's it. You pop it in the oven. That's it. Today's a really hot day, though. I don't recommend it on a day like today. And you know what else, too, is I can sometimes eat a buffalo dip without actual chicken. Cream cheese, shredded cheese, and what's going on here? I think I got derailed by the Atlanta Magic City wing thinking about it.
Who was it? Lou Will that made those?
Yeah,
they've been everyone has known about it, but Lou Will had his own special, I think, and he was going out of his way to go there.
Mm-hmm. You know who else had his own special wings? Brendan Merriweather.
Oh, okay. I think Harden might have too at one point.
Google Henny wings.
Oh, sounds delicious. Haven't heard from Merriweather in a while.
I saw him at the Wilbur a couple of years ago. Me and him, I don't know. I don't know if he liked me. He always thought me and Wallach were he's like, where's Waldick? Whenever I was in, he just hated that I was there.
People love Johnny Wallach.
Yeah, well, he loved Waldick. Waldick, where at?
No one loves Wallach more than Cedric Maxwell.
Yeah, but you know what? These guys, don't feel bad for me when I tell you this. I'm not a victim. But whenever, I would fill in on that show, Wallach would be out and people would be pissed. And then, if I fill in, on, Zoe and Zoe's out, everyone's pissed. And then I fill in for Felger, and Felger's not here, and everyone's pissed. So, I'm the guy that filled in normally when everybody was out. It really sucked. Everyone's like, oh, we got Joe today. And then some people were like, hell yeah, we got Joe today. So it was a mixed bag sometimes.
Well, Joe, when you're not here, I'm pissed. So,
well, hey, I heard next week we getting a Sean Silver experiment.
Oh, I think I'm out next the end of next week.
He texted me about Alexander McGillney in 1993 scoring massive goals against the Bruins.
I miss Sean Silver. One of my favorites. One of the best people around.
When I wonder if he's got time off. We should just have him sit here for a couple hours.
Absolutely.
Sean Silver from an 8 to 10 here on the Sports Hub.
Oh, in
for 2 hours.
In. A lot of my first shifts were with Silver doing Celtics games on the weekends and stuff late at night.
So years ago, what would happen was they moved my predecessor to the mornings, and I would be the guy that would be on at night. And it just so happened to be when Deflategate was going on.
Everyone's favorite time to talk about sports.
And Sean Silver's before he got married, his now wife was a lawyer.
Still is, I believe.
Yes, she still is. He does a great job. But the thing was that we would get these things that would happen with Brady. And dude, imagine, hey, something just who was the lady? Ginsburg. She had something came down in the courts.
We're talking Ruth Bader
Ginsburg. Dude, I swear,
going all the way up the ladder?
I swear to God, something came in. And I go, dude, we have breaking news. I don't know how to report this. So we'd call his wife, and she'd be like, no, it means this, and then they're fighting it, and then that's when all those sketches were going on when Brady was in court.
Oh, yes.
People were trying.
That awful sketch of him.
But dude, I was working a full-time job, 9 to 5, and then doing 7 to midnight at
the Wells Report and context.
It was, dude. It was, and he did too. So him and I were just like, what the hell is going on? So that's what I remember Sean Silver most for, besides Macho Man stuff. Oh, and then during COVID, I just literally hit up Dan Soder. Hey, Dan, what are you doing, man? You want to do a little macho off with myself and Sean Silver? And he's like, done. Here's my email. And I was like, all right. And then just me, him, and Dan Soder sat in front of a computer for 2 hours.
I'm a big Soder guy.
It's on YouTube. Go find it. But they just did Macho Man impersonations, and I just hung out with him.
His girlfriend, or wife, or girlfriend was just on the morning show not too long ago.
That's right.
She got a new show on somewhere, I think. Katie, I forget what it's called, but Katie Nolan's got a new show somewhere. She's always good.
Yeah.
Joe, and just you mentioned Sean Silver next week. A little programming note for next week. You're getting moved, unfortunately. We will be having somewhat of a Green Teamers at night on Monday night. Next Monday, hosting James Stewart will be hosting the night show next Monday. So very much looking forward to that with some Celtics stuff. I'm sure, coming on the horizon as well. We'll probably get some guests, maybe some even in studio. So Jay Stu next Monday. And then Tuesday night, I believe we have Alex Barth and, to be determined. I don't know if it's, we'll see. Alex Barth and someone else. I don't know if it's my place to say it.
Okay. So be on the lookout for potential different voices.
Yes.
Okay. Big Jim Murray's checking in. I brought up Trader Joe's, and everyone, I think everyone got a tickle when I said Trader Joe's. He mentioned the brownie cookies are insane. Brownie cookies? So is that like a cookie, half brownie?
You think Luke's mom could make some of those?
Please. Trey, Luke's our other intern. His mom brought in cookies this week. And I go, hey, do you think your mom could make brownies or cheesecake? So I've been petitioning her to make. I'm scared when he leaves. I hope his mom makes us a cake.
It's almost like you're issuing like a.
She should just come in. She's just come in with them.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
I met Matt McCarthy's family once. His mom brought cookies.
Of course, McCarthy's great people.
You can't come here empty-handed, everybody. All right, what the hell did we just do there? It was the Trader Joe's, or was it the Atlanta? It was the wings.
It was a combination, Joe. It was a perfect firestorm.
Anyways, now I want to go to Trader Joe's. And, the cathedral guy, Cathedral of Boston guy, just text me a picture of him and Steve-O. And we were talking Jackass. All right, we got to get to the headlines here. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
We no longer call it butt rock. I was told that it's now called divorced dad rock. That's at least what Jeff Williams tells me. The Silver Fox has reached out to me. He has gotten the Fox call. And I said, you let me know what works for you, Mr. Working Man Dad. You let me know a night. Send me some dates, and we'll make it happen. I have a good musings that I want to get into. It's been a developing one, and some things on the show have kind of perked my interest about it, and I want to bring it up, Skaz. I don't want to do it right now, even though I really want to. Red Sox are underway. No score. Garrett Crochet on the mound. Red Sox trying to mount a little something here. I crushed Connor Wong last night, and he got an RBI, so maybe we can continue to have that happen. I have no problem doing that. This from Adam Himmelsbach of the Boston Globe. Was told the Celtics are pleased with their necessary deals this week, but that the general mood within the organization is somber because basically it sucks to trade away two players that people you won a title with. That's my biggest thing tonight, is that the Celtics are not championship contenders right now, and they probably won't be this year. Do I think it's in their best interest to retool? I do. And again, I use the analogy about being at the poker table or the blackjack table. You go full tilt a lot. You go all in because you want to be the best. And this team has, I'm sure if we just looked up the last 10 years, the Celtics and Warriors have probably made the playoffs more than anyone. And I think the Celtics probably have made the playoffs more than the Warriors. But the Celtics have competed for a championship every year. You know, if you go back to the Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving moves, they made those moves to battle for a championship. And I actually wanted to bring this up earlier. I had this in our rundown, which completely got derailed, by the way. All that prep work, all day, guys, just nothing. It was really hot today, too, if anybody didn't know. They traded Kemba Walker for Al Horford. It worked. They traded Romeo Langford. Who was JR? I'm trying to remember. For Derek White.
Richardson.
Think about that. They traded Kemba for Al Horford. Kemba was done. That knee thing was real. He was toast. Derek White they received. They traded Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. They traded Rob Williams and Malcolm Brogdon for Drew Holiday. They extended every core player. Brown, Tatum, Holiday, Porzingis. Derek White. They extended all of them. Then they traded Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. And now they trade Kristaps Porzingis. And they didn't have to give up any assets. None. I'm not parading around saying that Brad Stevens is the greatest ever and that they've improved. Just like Adam Himmelsbach reported, it sucks. They just lost two guys from their championship team. And they won't be contending this year for a championship. As a Celtics fan, that sucks. Everyone's analyzing the return because they've been so competitive and going for a championship every year. Don't analyze it. Don't do it. These were dumps. Salary dumps. The Simon move is just to see if it works out. If it does, he's extension eligible. And if not, they can trade him. The other thing that they can do is, if they really, really, really want to move on from Jaylen Brown's contract, at least Simons is somebody that can play the position. I think it'd be crazy. It'd be irrational. You would give up Tatum and Brown for the future for many more years, but it's at least a backup plan. But stop analyzing the return. Keep it as they dumped players without giving up assets. They also gave up their championship odds. 617-779-0985. We got the musings. We'll do that next here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Visit the 99 restaurant the day after the Red Sox win and get a free kids meal with every adult entree purchased. The 99 restaurant, the official family restaurant of the Boston Red Sox.
Spring rains revealing roof issues? You're not alone. It might be age, or maybe it wasn't installed right to begin with. At Associate Roofing, we specialize in high-quality craftsmanship, copper, cedar, slate, and more. We are third-generation roofers.
on a random take. Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
So I went on TikTok, and they have like those 15 or 60 second like things you can do. So I went, all right, everybody, look how hot it is. And I showed that it was 104 degrees. I said, I'm not bitching about how hot it is. And then after the next 10 minutes, I went back to the same video. And I went, all right, I'm bitching. It's too hot. So that's what I did on TikTok today. It was really, really, really hot. Actually still want to know if it did cook. Have you anybody ever done that before? Like, Skaz, I don't know if your dad was like in the cars and stuff, but did he ever crack eggs on an engine or a hood or anything like that?
I'm sure he did at some point, but not that I remember.
Like, I wonder if you could like put some like, steak meats on something hot, I wouldn't do that. I'm just barbecue. He does it every year. If he's having a cookout, do you think we're going to be outside?
I think that's kind of implied.
Okay.
Cookout.
Yeah. So it's probably going to be hot, right?
I would imagine so. It's supposed to be nice on Friday, though, like 75.
Okay. So here's my question. Well, first off, anyone who visits us here at the station, I hope they know that they have to bring us baked goods. We've established a rule, Skaz.
Yes.
Now,
always, Joe.
I agree with you, Skaz. I'm in agreement with you. I think if someone's having a cookout, even if they tell you don't bring anything, bring. Someone in our chat earlier, Skaz, asked, are you a Slim Jims or a Jack Link's guy? Issue with the air conditioner, or power today.
Yeah, Joe. It was a hot one, as you've heard a million times today. I was sitting inside in the nice AC. And even with the AC, it was like, when I turned the car on, my dog was panting up a storm. The cat's, real lethargic. So me and my girlfriend, what do we do? I mean, she was on call with her CEO when we lost power. So I was, felt bad for
fantastic.
her. But yeah, not great timing. So we went and sat in the car for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before I came to work with the animals, trying to make sure they're cool. It was when I went inside, Joe, to take a quick shower before I left, it was 92 degrees inside my place.
Inside the house?
Inside the thermostat.
Holy smokes.
92 degrees. So not exactly a fun afternoon over at the Scaramuzzino household, Joe, but what are you going to do?
So I'll tell you, mine was 79. Still warm. But not 92. 79, 92, that's a difference, guys. This reminds me of an episode of Married with Children I once watched. They didn't have air conditioner either in their house. So you know what they did as a family? They hung out at the supermarket.
Oh, there you go.
It's cold, right?
Always.
You got
always.
You got a refrigerated section, right? There's always lawn chairs, right, for sale. You ever notice that about a supermarket? They always have random things like on the top of their shelves.
Some wiffle ball bats or something.
Like pail and shovel. Yeah, you're right. Wiffle ball bats, balls, coolers, styrofoam coolers, right? A supermarket always has a styrofoam cooler. And for some reason, you're always like, yeah, we got to get this styrofoam cooler. The styrofoam cooler always breaks. Back in the day, the Hilltop Steakhouse, there's two of them. One was on Route 1 in Saugus. The other one was the one I went to was in Braintree Mall, or is it South Shore Plaza? I don't know what they call it anymore. But dude, I used to go hiding in the freezers back in the day. Felt like Rocky Balboa in there. That's where I went when it was cold or when it was hot. This is bad. Anyways. Anything else, guys? It was hot today. Anybody know that? It's hot.
It's a real hot one, Joe. It's going to be a scorcher.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? A little, well, it's a hot one. Smooth. That's a song Silver and I used to sing. And it's just like the ocean under the moon. Same as the emotion that I get from you. Hey, I got a song for the summers, guys.
Oh, yeah. After the 4th of July, it's going to be song of the summer season.
Keeping a list.
You checking it twice?
I am, definitely. But yes, I got a song yesterday. It's a song of the summer. And So I'm adding one to the list. There's one other one. It's a country song. I'm not a country guy. But, oh, by the way, do you know who Hozier is, Trey? Hozier's playing at Fenway Park tonight. Would you go? In this weather, you would go? You are crazy. Did I ever tell you about the Rolling Stones?
Not in this weather, he said.
Oh, no.
If it was a little nicer out.
Okay. I, one time, got Rolling Stones tickets at Fenway Park. It must have been 04, 05, 06. I was in my crazy heyday, meaning I did mushrooms. So
it's not too crazy.
Yeah, whatever. I don't do that.
Pretty mundane, I think, actually.
And it's funny now because marijuana and mushrooms you can literally buy at a dispensary now. But I would just say this. Psychedelics and heat don't go together.
Got to stay hydrated, Joe. Got to stay hydrated.
I went to Fenway and the Black Eyed Peas opened and I hated them. I despised them.
Not a fan of Fergie, Joe?
I'm not really sure where my head was at. Okay, so I just was like, these guys suck. I hate them. I can't listen to them. But everyone, got to see the Rolling Stones. It's Fenway, blah. Like, I'm like, all right, let's go. Oh, it's too much. All right, man, fine, let's go. It was the hottest day of my lifetime. And I'll never forget this. Everyone was drunk, inebriated, on drugs. Everybody. Or they were just on heat, like the sun. But I'll never forget being in the first base side grandstands. And if you're ever in the grandstands, if you go all the way to the back, there's this like cage where you can see the parking lot and you can kind of lean against it. It's where they have standing room people. And I'll never forget, it was so hot, I just needed a little bit of wind. You ever been hot and you're just like, I really need a wind? Really just need something to like... Well, I remember people just laying against that little fence thing, hoping that a breeze would come through. That was that's what I remember of the Rolling Stones concert. I don't really remember Mick Jagger. I don't remember anything. But it was the hottest day of my life. All right. Story time. I like stories.
I like stories.
All right, what's today? June 24th?
June 24th, Joe. I think we got some big ones today.
All right, you can lead us off because I'm not ready yet.
All right, Joe, let's see. I did see some big... Now I got to find it.
How about Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac, 78 years old today.
It is Jeff Beck's birthday today.
Real quick on Mick Fleetwood, I went to his restaurant in Maui. And, dude, downstairs he had a museum. He had a Jimi Hendrix car down there. It was an unbelievable... And then the food was outstanding. It was overlooked the water. I'll never forget it because I was really impressed just with the museum. But, dude, it all burned down. The whole thing. Anyways, story time.
Joe, it is the greatest athlete of our generation, my generation, maybe the greatest athlete of all time's birthday today. Joe, it is Lionel Messi's birthday today.
Oh, Leo Messi. Or what does Taylor Twellman tell us? Lionel.
Yes, it is Messi's birthday today, the GOAT. Undisputable.
And when does he come to Gillette?
The 9th, I believe. July 9th, I believe. Soon, coming up.
Think it's going to be hot?
It's going to be a scorcher, Joe.
It's going to be hot?
Maybe talking to a very... very highly rated New England Revs player who might have a future in the Premier League. Maybe talking to him later in the week.
Really? You're working on some things behind the scenes?
Absolutely. Get the people excited for Messi coming back to Gillette.
If people want Revs coverage, you know where to come. Right here. Peter Weller's 78 years old today. Mindy Kaling, 48 years old. She was the, director of The Office? Or one of them?
Yeah, I think she might have wrote some of it, yeah.
Minka Kelly's 45 years old today. Erin Moriarty is 31 years old today. Jack Dempsey, the boxer. He mentioned Jeff Beck as well. Anybody else?
Kind of a funny one, Joe, to pop up on the famous birthdays page today. Joe, it is Monet Davis's birthday today. Do you remember Monet Davis? Little League World Series.
Oh, yes.
She was the pitcher.
Yeah. Whatever happened to her?
I think she played high school or something like that. But yeah, shout out Monet Davis. First girl to ever pitch a shutout in the Little League World Series.
I do remember her. There should be a 30 for 30 on the Little League World Series.
I'm in on that. Give me a Danny Almonte story. Jason Varitek, Cedon Raffaello they were showing recently.
Happy birthday to Tiny Lister, who played Debo in the movie Friday. If you remember Smokey's famous words, you got knocked out. He was also in No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan. I'm trying to remember, but well, he was most known for being Debo from Friday. How about that? It's his birthday today. That's it. That's all I got.
It is Micah Richards' birthday today, Joe, a former Man City, big-time TV guy now, Big Meeks. And, Joe, it is, I feel like I saw one more. I thought it was a wrestler, but now I'm not going to be able to find it. Joe, it is also Solange Knowles' birthday today. Beyonce's sister.
Oh.
Yeah, she might not like the halftime show next year. That's a story for a different day, though.
Okay. We're going to talk to Noah Dalzell in a little bit. Let's hit the headline. And we'll do more next here on the Sports Hub.
From the Telfair Tire Studios, 78 FM and HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Kristaps Porzingis traded today. He's going to Atlanta. The Celtics dumped him. They are now under the second apron. And who knows what move is coming up next. Zdeno Chara is a Hall of Famer, everybody. Him and Joe Thornton. And the Red Sox and Angels. No score, but Marcelo Meyer, his first career triple. Headlines are brought to you by Premier Basement Waterproofing. Is this heat making your home humid and musty? You need the Santa Fe dehumidifier in your basement or crawl space to live comfortably all summer long. 844-LIVE-DRY, PremierBasement.net. It's game over for water. I'm Joe Murray.
New England plays here.
Ball down the right side. There's a separation. Yes. Touchdown pass. Yes. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Who could forget?
Still bothers me that the manager does that. Let's talk to John. He's in North Attleboro. John?
Joe, Scavs, what's going on, guys?
Yo.
I kind of feel like with these trades, dumping Porzingis, Holiday, I feel like this is going to have to make Mazulla have to be an actual coach. So I kind of wonder with all these trades that they're doing, if it's going to bend or break him to kind of like with Tatum being out, is he going to have to prove himself a little bit more because he doesn't have the talent?
Well, that's a good question. And the other thing is he's in the final year of his deal, John. So what do the Celtics do? Do they extend him now or do they wait it out?
No, I think you wait it out. I mean, I don't know if he's that great of a coach. Udoka just got extended, but if he was still here, they probably would have done the same thing. But I think he's a better coach. I think Mazulla has a lucky job because of the talent around him.
You're right.
So
You're right.
now he's going to have to actually coach.
You're right. Maybe that's why they got Simons in. He's a high-volume three-point shooter. Maybe they just want to continue keeping it going. Hey, Topher, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, Joe. How are you, Skaz, and the crew doing over there?
We're doing great. Just staying cool, my man.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But you gotta get some. You gotta get some better food there, buddy. Like you can't have you eating like just beef jerky and everything.
Well, yesterday I went to the beach and I got Bob's Lobster and I had a fisherman's platter for lunch. So,
Where'd you get the fisherman platter from?
From Bob's Lobster on Plum Island.
Oh, nice.
It was really good. You ever been there?
Nice. No, I have not.
Are you a
It's been a while since I've actually had.
Are you a
It's been a while since I've actually had good. Yeah. It's been a while since I've actually had good seafood. So.
What about fried clams?
Oh God, yes, fried clams.
Do you prefer fries and onion rings? What?
With the clams, if you go old school like Kelly's, the fries and the ring combo is very nice.
All right. Anything else?
Not that I could think of right now.
So, we're gonna have a pizza party tomorrow.
Yeah,
right.
We'll have a food party tomorrow.
All right.
Hey, Joe. One other thing though.
Yeah.
When you're talking about any kind of wind, be careful. I know how this show goes. I know where your mind goes with it. Careful with that.
Thank you, Topher. I break wind a lot. I think I do it more belching those guys lately. Just happens. Hey, Noah Dalzell. She's a great reporter. She's going to join us next. Talk a little with Celtics and NBA on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way.
right back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's been a crazy, wild night here. We started the show with some breaking news. The Boston Celtics have traded Kristaps Porzingis. Last night, we ended the show. We went home, and on our way home, we found out that Drew Holiday was traded. And then I pulled up, and I said, you know what? You know who's probably doing an emergency podcast right now? Noah Dalzell and Bobby Manning over at CLNS on the Garden Report. So that's where I got my information last night, and Noah Dalzell joins us right now on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Noah, I hope hope there's no more news for you tonight because hasn't even been 24 hours, and two pieces from the championship team are gone.
I would love no more trades, at least tonight, so I can finish my writing. But it has certainly been, I think, all the anticipation of the last few weeks of, like, what's going to happen, what's going to happen first. We're getting some very clear answers here over the last 24 hours.
So I think I'm not going to sit here and parade about Brad Stevens' moves. Like, people do that. I think it's fair to say he's been pretty great with all his moves. Here, I think I'm more impressed with the fact that I thought they would have to give up more to use the word dump. I thought they would have to at least include assets to move on from a guy with term at age, right? Or someone that makes $30 million. So I'm most impressed with the fact that they didn't have to use any assets, but it is upsetting at the same time. I don't think the Celtics are contenders this year. That's why I won't analyze the return they got.
That's a good point. I think the reality, the compass that I've been following at least, is that they had to get below the second apron. And it's confusing, it's boring. There's a lot of basketball penalties that come with being above the second apron, but effectively they had to shed like $22 million in salary. And I expected it to take like 5 trades. They did it in 2. And I was more impressed with the Drew Holiday return, but the Kristaps Porzingis move is where they shed all the salary. So if you're the average Celtics fan who enjoys watching basketball games, like, you're not going to parade because you traded Kristaps Porzingis for Georges Niang and shed some salary. But for those of us that have been in the weeds, like, trying to figure out how are they going to do this, are they going to have to give up Derek White or Sam Hauser or one of these really kind of key players on good contracts? Now they have the choice not to. It doesn't mean that all those guys are safe and they can just relax the rest of the summer, but there's a pathway for this team to be sustainable without giving up anybody else. And so that's one of the encouraging things that I think came out of the last couple of days.
Yeah, the way I've been trying to explain this, Noah, to some people, and of course sports fans, it's kind of like being at the blackjack table or the poker table. Like, the Celtics have been on full tilt for years, right? They've been in the championship game or going for a championship now for a very long time. Not having Jason Tatum next year and moving on from 2 key pieces, it's almost like they're just pulling some chips off the table, trying to get it back up, and then once their horse is out of the barn, they'll double down and go on full tilt. So I think this year it's about financially structuring the team, but I don't think it's over. And, you mentioned maybe some more moves that could happen. They're under the second apron right now by what? A little bit less than $5 million. I still think there's more moves to come. And this is a different look on the Anthony Simons trade. I don't think he can replace Jaylen Brown's production. And I know that people think right now it's to replace Jason Tatum's production. I'm just wondering if maybe they are dangling Jaylen Brown out there because they have a guy that they could extend that can score as much as him, just won't play defense. So I almost wonder if that's still in play, the Jaylen Brown trade.
Yeah, so I don't think the Anthony Simons move, to me, like, impacted my view on whether or not Jaylen could get traded. I think the latest reporting that we have is Shams today saying that it would take a big offer, but the teams are putting together big offers, and that the Celtics don't want to trade Jaylen Brown or Derek White. And I bring him up because I think that he might even be the Celtics' best trade asset right now if they're trying to get a ton of value back. But Anthony Simons, I'm not even sure if he's going to be on the Celtics next year. Like, I think there's a very viable chance that he never wears a Celtics jersey. So I'm not sure what to make of that return. Obviously, like, he's a pretty good player that scored 19-plus points per game in his last 3 seasons and can shoot the 3 and can play make a little bit. So there's a lot to like, especially considering that I think a lot of people viewed Drew Holiday's contract as a negative asset. But and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't get the sense that he's going to be a part of the Celtics' longer-term future. Maybe he gets an opportunity next year and they see if they want to keep him before the deadline and he actually shows out and they say, okay, he is. But nothing about the way these moves have transpired over the last day have shifted my thinking on the likelihood of them trading or not trading Jaylen Brown based off of that specific transaction.
Yeah, and it's the only I haven't heard it anywhere yet, so I was like, Simon's like, what could he do? Like, is this a? I don't know. I don't know where ownership stands. I mean, I think whoever the new owner was or whatever, they had to make these moves. They had to do it this year.
Right.
Wick Grossbeck said it, right? The teams just don't pay back to back at the second apron. So just getting back to Porzingis and Jaylen for a second here. Remember last year, Jaylen Brown, we were just playing the audio. I think you were all over it. But Jaylen Brown brought Porzingis to Atlanta. Showed him, his high school and the jiu-jitsu place, and he goes, "Hey, I think I could live here." Well, I hope that Porzingis is really liked Atlanta. But do you think Jaylen Brown's upset with the move of Porzingis? If you think about it, Tatum's got a lot of his buddies on the team and his coach. Jaylen Brown, Porzingis was his guy. I'm not trying to stir. I just wonder if he's upset about the move.
It's a good question. First of all, I forgot about that Porzingis Atlanta visit, so hopefully to him this is a good fit. And I think from a basketball standpoint, this could be a good opportunity for him. As far as Jaylen's concerned, I would imagine that right now his number one priority is his own future because he is very much in trade rumors, and this is the couple of days where if he does get traded, this is when it would happen. So I'm sure it's hard for everybody on the roster right now to process the fact that two of the guys that were kind of pivotal to your championship team are gone, and guys were really close to Drew Holiday as well. I think that, and this is not like me reporting anything, this is just my feeling. Like, I think the Jaylen Brown Porzingis friendship was like a little bit overplayed by the media. Like, it was kind of a fun storyline, and they definitely got along well. But Jaylen has a lot of friends on the team, and Porzingis had a lot of guys on the team that he was really close with that never really got as reported. And so I think sometimes the friendship stuff, like there can be a couple duos that the media really gets excited about, and then it's more us that are regurgitating, like, these are the two best friends. Like, that I doubt that that's much of a dynamic right now. But I would imagine that Jaylen's pretty stressed out, just trying to figure out if he's going to stay in Boston, where he won a championship a year ago and has spent his entire career and has really everything, his businesses, his philanthropy. Like, he is incredibly rooted in the city to a much different degree than Drew and Kristaps were. So that's a guess, and I'm not in his brain. Like, that's probably what he's most concerned with right now.
No, that's a good point. We're talking with Noah Dalzell. She covers all sorts of stuff. The NBA, the Celtics, CLNS, Celtics blog. She does some WNBA as well. You've been all over it. Jaylen Brown's been everywhere. He's I'm 43, Noah. When I was a kid, Reggie Lewis came to my gym. And, he was my favorite player because I saw him, right? I was like, wow, Reggie Lewis, he's actually coming around. Jaylen Brown's now going to pop-ups and just going to schools and boys and girls clubs, and he's really just, really connecting with the city. I think it'd be a huge blow if they ever did move on from him. But, I think that's something he's doing that and I know people blow this up. He's doing this here. Tatum's done a lot with St. Louis, and I'm not saying he hasn't done it here either, but I just think the trading Jaylen Brown would really be a huge blow. So I agree with you. I think he's worried more about his own health. But just back to the Drew Holiday thing, I thought him and Chauncey Billups had a relationship. I thought maybe that's why the Celtics sent him back there, because obviously he was there originally, never played, but now I'm hearing from Steve Ballpett he's upset about the move. So I guess I'm I'm confused. I thought he liked Chauncey and it was a good fit, and now he's upset.
Both of those things can be true, though. I mean, I don't know that they have a very profound relationship. I know that he liked the way the Blazers treated him when they reshuffled him to Boston a couple of years ago and they acquired him for the Damian Lillard return. But I think Drew Holiday is a player that is obsessed with winning championships, and he was so selfless for the Celtics team over the past 2 years. He was willing to take 3 shots a night, 2 shots a night, play when they needed him to play, sit when they needed him to sit. Really, I said this earlier on a podcast, but if you put in ChatGPT, give me 100 quotes explaining how much you love your teammate, I've heard all of those about Drew Holiday this season. At the same time, he also talks about how much he wants to win, and that's why he's so selfless, because it's all a sacrifice toward winning. So I was talking to some Blazers reporters earlier today, before this report came out, and they were asking, how do you think he'll feel about this trade? And I don't think that he's at all blindsided that he was traded this summer. I think that he's very well aware of the second apron, understood when he signed that contract that it was going to be very difficult to keep him alongside Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on Supermax contracts. Well, he's going to be making $37 million a year when he's 38. But I think that he probably expected to go somewhere that's a win-now situation. And this Blazers team is on the up. They're in a better position than they were 2 years ago when he was there for a brief second. But they're not a win-now contender. And so I'm not surprised to hear that he's frustrated at that situation. And also, he might have some leverage. I mean, you don't want a disgruntled guy on your payroll like that. So maybe he's, I'm sure that if he ends up staying in Portland, he will be a great teammate and a great locker room guy, and he's not going to cause issues. But I'm not surprised that this report came out, because I'm sure there's a way to get him somewhere like LA, where he's from, on the Clippers, the Lakers, one of these teams where they are vying for a championship next season. I would imagine that's a much better fit for him right now.
Yep, I said that off the air to Skaz. I go, man, the Lakers, probably just the spot for him.
Yeah.
I have a question for you on Joe Mazzulla's contract. I don't know how many guys go into a lame duck year. Ime Udoka just got an extension in Houston. Do you know if there's contract extension talks with Mazulla, and do you think they would actually enter the season without an extension?
I doubt they would enter the season without an extension. I think the Celtics were just in such a kind of crazy situation at the beginning of this offseason where I don't know that there was any sense around who was going to be here in a couple months, but I would imagine that later in the summer, that's something that gets taken care of ahead of the season. And so there was obviously big transactions, off-season moves, trades, the draft, dealing with the fact that nobody accounted for the fact that Jason Tatum was going to be sidelined for most, if not all, of next year. But I do expect that Joe Mazzulla will be extended later this summer. I would be very surprised if anything else happened, whether that's he goes into the year as a lame duck coach or anything else. I think that he's in a pretty safe spot, and if there are any certainties about this team moving forward, he is at the top of my list about things that I think are pretty much a sure thing. Brad Stevens really believes in him. They have a great relationship, and I think the Celtics feel like he's a huge asset that they have. And I know sometimes the fans don't feel that way, but that's the sense that I get.
All right, no, drafts next couple of days here. Celtics have 28 and 32. There's rumors that they want to move up. They're interested in Yakuchunas, who's a stud at Illinois, but I think he's a lottery pick. How would they do that? What do you think's the next domino to fall? Is it Hauser? Could there be somebody else? What do you expect on draft night for the Celtics?
Yeah, I think there's 3 potential ways, just off the top of my head, that they could get there. One, just straight up trading Hauser to a team and the number 28 pick, and basically saying, here, take this established shooter that can defend, who's in his prime, and give us a slightly better draft pick, and we'll shed a little bit of money as well. And then the other 2 are a trade that would involve Jaylen Brown or Derek White, and the return would be much more than just moving up into the lottery this year, probably a couple times. But I would imagine that, and that's why the next 24 hours are so massive here, and trades can happen afterwards, but there's a very good chance that if one of those guys gets traded, it would be in the next 24 hours so that they can acquire some draft capital tomorrow. And so that's why I probably won't be sleeping much tonight. But those are the 3 most likely outcomes, I would say, as far as them kind of increasing their draft capital. And I actually think there's a good chance that even if it's not all the way into the lottery, that they will not be drafting 28 and 32 tomorrow.
All right. Real quick, who do you think should be the favorite in the East, and who do you like next year coming out of the East?
Probably the Cavs. I know they've had some disappointing playoff runs, but I think now seeing how this Pacers team kind of dismantled everybody and found ways to win that really didn't make any sense, I don't view it as much as an indictment on them. So I think the Cavs are the only ones that have a complete roster. The Knicks are the other ones. Those are the 2 teams that don't have an Achilles rupture that they're dealing with towards the top of the conference. Yep. So those would be my 2 picks, but I'm leaning Cavs still.
Well, a lot can change from now until free agency. So today it's the Cavs, and we'll see how it goes. The Celtics, of course, have fallen big time with their 2 trades, now plus 1,200 to win the championship. It's probably one of the lowest they've been in a long time. Long time. No, what do you guys got going on tomorrow night for the draft? You guys doing anything with CLNS?
Yeah, we will be at the Auerbach Center, so we'll hear from Brad Stevens after the draft. And we'll be going live to discuss the picks in real time. We'll have a pregame show, so you can find all of our coverage. We're reacting to literally everything. So if there's a transaction and it's a weird hour, just go to CLNS Media, and we most likely will have a show with at least a few of us that have awoken to respond. So you can check that out there.
All right, Noah, best of luck tomorrow. Appreciate your time tonight. Get some rest. It's going to be a busy next couple of days. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. It's Noah Dalzell, everybody. Check out her work, CLNS, Celtics blog. You can follow her on Twitter as well, at Noah Dalzell. Does an excellent job, and she'll be busy the next couple of days with the Celtics. So there we go. Maybe the relationship with Brown and Porzingis was overblown. Well, paraphrasing. All right. Let's get to the headline here. The Red Sox have a score. They've scored. So we'll tell you what that is next here on the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
All right, well, Kristaps Porzingis. All right, back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Lots of trades going on. I wonder what else is going to happen. I feel like draft day is a big one. We should probably mention this, guys, before we get out of here. Alex Bregman open to negotiating a new contract with the Red Sox to stay in Boston long term. This, according to Scott Boras, and who's getting Tim Healy of the Globe is the one who reported this that I'm reading here. So, would he rip up his deal? I'd only rip it up to get more money.
If the number's right, Joe, right? It's all about the number.
Well, it's player options. So, I mean, no matter what, I think the Red Sox are fine paying him is it $30 million a year? So that means that he would have to, I mean, what would be I don't know. Guess we have to think about this one first.
Where's Milliken when you need him?
I'll be on with him on Sunday.
I can't wait. I hope there's very little sports talk during that show.
I asked him, I go, hey, I'm going to bring a breakfast sandwich. What do you like? He goes, bacon, egg, and cheese.
Done.
I said, great. What kind of bagel do you like? He goes, oh, I'm plain. So I'm going to go, I know where I'm going. And I'm going to get him a breakfast sandwich. I thought about, what else we could do that day. I don't know. Maybe we can spitball some ideas tomorrow. There's a Revs game tomorrow night here, so we'll be on, and then we will be on after the game, before and after, per usual. Also, I will be on the off-air show tomorrow. I believe it's with Mike Felger. He wasn't in today, so I don't know his status. But it's funny, another breaking news day, huh, Scans? You notice that? Felger out on another day.
Very weird, Joe. I did notice that. He's very critical when other people seem to miss big events. But trading Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, you're right. I didn't hear Felger on the radio today. It's weird. It's weird.
So I'm scheduled to be on with him tomorrow, 6:15, I believe, on YouTube. And I've curated questions for Felger regarding hoops, and
I got some dead questions for Felger if you need them.
Maybe when I ask him who's the best American band of all time, maybe he'll mention the Grateful Dead.
I think he would have. He's probably going to say Pearl Jam.
So let's look at the old rundown. This is the rundown that we started very early this morning, so people don't know that we see stories and we talk about them all day. Drew Holiday traded over the last 4 seasons. Only Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, and Luka Doncic and Donovan Mitchell have averaged more made threes per game than Anthony Simons. It's pretty good company, right? Just for the people who don't know of him. Cap stuff, who cares? Drew loves Chauncey Billups was one of my stories today. Now we find out he's upset. Okay. Red Sox lose again. Alex Cora ejected. Walker Buehler stinks. Pretty easy.
Yeah, Joe. Walker Buehler really stinks. But Joe, he's accountable after the games. He's accountable.
Did you know he is ranked 66th of pitchers with 50 innings pitched or more? He is just ahead of Bowden Francis, who's the worst. But it's not good.
No, I never heard of Bowden Francis.
Okay. Zdeno Chara, Hall of Fame. Joe Thornton, Hall of Fame. Oh, Red Sox odds to make the playoffs. You see this?
Not great.
According to Fangraphs, the Red Sox have a 25.2% chance of making the playoffs. Last year at this time, they had a 44%. That's difference. That's a big percentage. Imagine if you got paid 44%, Skaz, and then you only got paid 25%. That would be upsetting. And ESPN, Jeff Passan had a list of trade candidates. Number 1, Alex Bregman. Number 2, Jarren Durant. How'd that happen? Also, the Patriots' playoff odds are out. I could save that for tomorrow. But Bet Online came out today with Patriots odds on making the playoffs and how far they could go. If you'd really like, I can share those with you. I also should tell you that Jalen Polk had a 63 overall in Madden. In or out on that one?
Feels high, doesn't it, Joe?
Actually, I feel like...
No, it's low. That's low.
I feel like he should be better than that, though. Patriots odd to miss the playoffs. -175. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have for that.
I had an in or out that we didn't use tonight, Joe, and we're not on. Well, we're on tomorrow, but no in or out tomorrow. Joe, Cody Rhodes going heel? Is that on the table?
Oh yeah.
He said.
Well, do you know how the whole Cena thing started? Right.
He wanted to be. Rhodes was the heel. Then
no. Rhodes has always been a face in WWE.
Okay. So
he's always been a face since he's become the American Nightmare. He used to be Stardust and Cody, all that stuff. But The Rock wanted to take his soul, remember? And then he told The Rock to go F himself. That's a true story. That happened. And then John Cena turned heel. So, do you think we get more Rock, Travis Scott, and Cody Rhodes?
I hope not, but
I hope not too.
Yeah.
CM Punk did a promo recently where he goes, "Hey, where is The Rock and Travis Scott?" So that's interesting. Another thing that we could mention here is Josh Allen loves Drake May. Now, I don't know if this is tongue in cheek, but Josh Allen, why can't we click on Barstool?
I don't know, Joe.
Why?
The wall, the firewall. Mimecast.
I can't even read the story now. Did you get anything out of that?
Josh Allen doesn't take me as a tongue-in-cheek guy. He seems like a pretty honest guy. I think he sees a little bit of himself in Drake May. I think Patriots fans are hoping to see Josh Allen in Drake May, so I can see it. Bigger, mobile guy, big arm, makes some bad decisions early on in his career, turnover machine, but you see the you see the ceiling there. You see the potential.
Okay. If he is Josh Allen, they're Super Bowl contenders.
Not next year, but yes, in the future.
Ever.
Yeah.
Okay. The Bruins have a preseason schedule. What's this new logo? Are they hinting a new logo? What's up with that?
I think they're bringing back the Spoke Beat tomorrow, Joe, and potentially a Pasternak captaincy I've seen rumored. Maybe when the new jersey gets unveiled, Pasternak has a C on it.
Oh, God. People are going to hate that.
I'm okay with it.
No, I'm fine with it. Tomorrow when it gets announced, someone's going to hate it. That's one someone is going to hate. Who, McAvoy or Pasternak? I will say this. Pasternak really changed his game last year on a sucky team. I also have one other thing to add before we get out of here tonight. It's been a tough week for Boston sports fans. If you think about it, right? Here in the city of Boston. Just a week, literally a week. The amount of things that have happened that have changed the course of Boston sports. In 10 days. The Red Sox traded away a World Series champion in Rafael Devers. Brad Marchand won a Stanley Cup with the Panthers. And the Celtics traded away 2 NBA champions, which ruins their reign. This has been in 10 days, Skaz. 10 days. What's next? 10 days. Marchand, Devers, Porzingis Holiday. Strap yourselves in, folks. It's going to be a wild next couple of weeks. And you can tune in right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And at night, myself, Skaz, will be here the rest of this week. I'll be doing mornings next week. So I'll be on morning 6 to 10 instead of nights. And then it's the holidays. And then who knows where the hell we are. So that's it for tonight. It's final hour in the sports. This is brought to you by Valvoline. It's an oil change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your next drive-through oil change at Valvoline. It's an oil change. The official oil change of busy people. Great job tonight, Trey, our intern. Awesome job. Skaz, awesome job per usual. Keep that Twitter fingers. I forget the line. There was a rap about Twitter fingers something. I'm not going to do it. We got to get out of here, everybody.